Hello, 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 sickos. Happy Thursday. We're back. I haven't done a chat stream in forever. Uh, Hopefully this goes alright. But yes, today we're doing a tier list for anime that came out this summer. So as you can see in front of me, we have from S to, well, it's not really S, but we have why are you not watching this? So this is literally shows that really stood out from the rest of the crowd that were really worth mentioning and you should definitely watch. To must watch. These are shows that are really good. They're just like, almost everybody watches them because they're good and stuff like that. So they stand a little bit above the crowd, but they're not like super out there that you have to watch them, but they're still like a must watch. And then we got the average. This is probably where most of our anime this tier are gonna go, where they're just like, yeah, they were good, but they didn't really stand out or didn't do anything special. And then we just got the meh. Just they weren't really worth mentioning. They weren't terrible, but they just were just like, eh. They could care less. And then we just have the don't touch. Just anime that you shouldn't even bother with. Just like, I don't think there was many that I thought that were in this tier except for one, but yeah, we'll get to that. We'll figure things out. And then we just have no opinion because there's a couple of shows that I have on this list here, which we have 20 shows to go through, if you can see on my list here to the left. But yeah, we're gonna be looking at like how well did they tell this story, were the characters interesting, what made this show stand out good compared to other ones. Is it worth watching another season, or if this like a returning show that was this season better than a previous season? So we'll be looking at a lot of different aspects. I mentioned different things. There will be spoilers. Definitely be spoilers. I probably won't talk too much about the full story, so it'll still be, if you haven't seen it but you still want to go see it, that way you can like get an idea and then maybe go watch it and stuff like that. But yeah, we got a lot of shows. We got 20 shows, and like I said, I didn't watch all of them. I think there's like 4 on this list that I didn't watch, maybe 3, but we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, today we're gonna have some fun. It'll be a nice relaxing stream, very different than what I normally do. I almost forgot to go to my Twitter. Where is that? And say I am live. Let me do that real quick. Alright. And this also will be a good indication of what I can do for like future streams and stuff like that. I think if this turns out really well, which I think it will be, and I think I'll enjoy this, I'll try to do one every season of anime. That'll be like my thing that I like to do now. But yeah, without further ado, shall we get started? All right, so the very first one I have on this list here is actually Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. Now, this actually was a show that I didn't watch, but I did hear a lot of like things on the internet talking about it. It sounds like it's a very mixed bag, and I actually don't fully understand the story. I think it's like a story about them trying to verse a god or something. So this one's obviously going to go in the no opinion because I don't know much about it. But my understanding is this guy here runs into this girl who's some kind of badass, and he has a talking lizard. That's all I know. So this one immediately, we're just going to throw it right. Ooh, what did I do? Nope, I made a mistake. There we go. This one we're just going to throw right in the no opinion immediately. So with that out of the way, let's go to a show I actually did watch. Vermilion Gold. This show was interesting. Very, very interesting. I was trying to remember the names of the characters. If I mispronounce the names or forget, I'm sorry, I don't have a list of them. There's a lot of characters to remember, so I couldn't remember all of them. I remember her name's Vermilia. I do remember that. But basically, it's a story about in a world of mages, where the mages summon familiars, and the familiars and the mages, like, you know, form friendships and get stronger and stuff like that. And what happens is this guy here ends up summoning a demon, which is Vermilia. And nobody has ever heard about summoning a demon before. Demons are super feared in this world. And he has to go through school learning how to, like, cope with living with this demon. Which, by the way, she's a cutie. I love her. If we were to do a ranking system on the characters here, I think these two alone in the show, this girl here, I don't remember her name. It was like Amelia, maybe? I honestly don't remember her name. I need to have like a list of all the character names. But they were both great characters. I loved both of them. She was also interesting. She was the president of the school, or one of the class representatives. And then there's these two in the background, which they were really not important. There was actually, I'm getting off track here. There was two interesting characters I didn't understand. Charlotte, I remember her name. She's not on here, but there was Charlotte, and then this other guy, and both of them were, so basically this one guy acts out as being like, you know, like how most like school animes start out with, there's a bully and they have to overcome them and stuff like that. So this guy kind of served as a bully at first. Like he had like a dinosaur dragon, and he was like, oh, I'm super tough and stuff like that. And Vermilia was like, nah. Like, she stood up for him, and the main character, and, you know, put an end to that. But then it was kind of weird, is then later it's like, well, no, he wasn't the bully. So in the what do you call it? The student council, there was this girl named Charlotte, and she was flipping evil, and I don't understand. This was where the show did kind of lose me, where it was like they made the bully get bullied by this other bully, was what ends up happening. It's not too important to the story because you literally get past that arc really quickly, but they try to make you feel bad for the second bully, the girl, and it's like, oh, it's the guy's fault, when I'm like, what? But the show overall was interesting. I liked it. It was, you know, it didn't really stand out as a unique story, but the characters on it alone kind of carried the show. Like, it was very, like, that's the word I'm looking for, not believable, but more entertaining, I guess I could say. It wasn't really believable because he's like innocent. This girl had the hots for him, and she also had the hots for him. Yeah, I know there's gonna be a lot of talks like this, but I'm kind of thinking right now for the show, is it kind of, I wouldn't say it's why, you know, it, like, it may go into a must watch, but I think this one comes down to personal opinion. And then, like, I did really like, I should say, the story aspect of this, what made it entertaining is probably Vermilia's story. Like, the show completely revolves around these two and Vermilia, but honestly, I'm like, I kind of wanted to learn more about her, but she was just like a childhood friend, and that was it. Vermilia was definitely the star of the show, though. She was very cute, she was very nice, she literally, best girl, literally helped out so much throughout the show. So does the show deserve to be a must watch? I don't think so. I don't think the show deserves to be a must watch. I think I wouldn't call it meh. I would just kind of put it as average. And so for now, I think we'll stick it right here. And that's where we're going to leave it for now. I was trying to think of more things to say about it, but like I enjoyed it personally, but it may not be a show for everyone. And that's where I'm just going to leave it. So let's get on to the next one, which is the maid I recently is mysterious. Oh, picture's a little bleh. But I'm gonna tell you this. I watched the first 3 episodes of the show. I was bored to tears. Like, yes, part of the story was interesting, which I'll talk about next. But I literally tried to watch this. I got to 3 episodes, and I literally almost fell asleep on the 3rd episode. So the story revolves about this kid loses his parents. I don't remember. I think it was like David or something. I know I'm just throwing out random names. But there was a lot of like English names this time in a lot of the animes. So I don't know where to throw this one. Or not throw. Yeah, I'm gonna chuck a kid. Just woo. Who's sending me messages? Yo, penguin. Sorry, somebody sent me something funny. I shouldn't be looking at that. Anyways, his parents, I think, die in a car accident, and he is left in charge of this wealth in a manor. But there's no source of income, from my understanding. So he still has the maids and stuff like that, but he's a smart kid, and he figures out to save money, he needs to let people go. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to become an adult sooner, and he's trying to study up, learn things. He's trying to get like a good job and stuff like that. So he's constantly trying to study. I think he's like 10 years old or something. But yeah, what ends up happening is he let goes all of his staff to save money, so that way he can keep living there for a while. And then what ends up happening is, while he's there for a little bit, this maid, the mysterious maid, I forget what her name was, shows up out of the blue asking to work for him. And he's like, who's this and why does she want to work? And she goes, all I ask for is I will live as long as I can live in this house and I get to work. That's all I want. And that's all she tells him. So like, the plot of the story is interesting. I like it. It is a very interesting story. However, the problem was, let me get into what's the rest of the show like. It starts going like this back and forth between where she's very cute, she's very good at what she does. If you know like Noelle from Genshin, she's basically like the maid that does it all. Like, she's kind of scary. She kind of does everything, and there's nothing like she doesn't do. And he's trying to either like one up her, like, I can do that, I don't need your help and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I should have said he agrees for her to work there. But it's just like, I don't know, to me the story just started becoming like very slow and kind of repetitive almost immediately, where he starts getting paranoid that she's like some secret agent trying to assassinate him or something like that and take over the manor and stuff like that. It becomes like this whole back and forth deal, and then it'd be just like a bunch of misunderstanding between them. Like, probably the show got better as it went on, I'm sure, but I just literally lost so much interest in it that I just didn't want to continue. I had so many other shows that I wanted to watch. I didn't know, like, I was just like, I don't know, I lost interest. There was just nothing more to say other than that. So the question is then, where does the show deserve to be? Well, I'm like, the art style was very good. Oh, I should have said this. The art style on this one was okay. It was nothing new, nothing like real spectacular. Did it deserve, like, I can't even remember much more than that because I let go of the show so early, but I do remember the art in this one. I can get my wires crossed on what I'm talking about. All right, but the art on this one was very good. She was very pretty, very cute. I liked her. He was the art was great. I'll give it that. The storytelling was just too slow for my liking. I needed a little bit more. Not to say that I was being impatient. I just I didn't have time for this. What seemed kind of like a child's game, to be honest, which is funny because he is a child. So where I'm thinking this show deserves to go, it does not deserve the don't touch. I think where it deserves mostly is just to go in the meh. Because I didn't enjoy it personally from what I had. It possibly gets better, but I just don't think it's really worth like watching unless you're really into it. Like it was a very, very specific title and like genre. Like you had to be into maids, you had to be into this whole cute bickering back and forth. Like you really need to have like the interest in this one. So this one I think falls here. This one, even though it seems like, you know, like a very niche one too, there was more going on there to make it more interesting. So I think that deserves average. And this one deserves meh. So let's go to another show that a lot of people know of. The Devil is a Part-Timer. Season 2. So, yes, this is the return of the second season. I'm trying to think of what I can say. The art style was very similar to the first one, I'll say that. The story definitely made some progress. It wasn't just like... So in the first season, it was mostly just like... How do these... So like for the people who don't know... these three are devils, these three, or she's human, and these two are from another world. And it's basically like an isekai, but the devils are the isekai ones. These two follow the devils here, and now they try to work normal lives. But they keep claiming about reclaiming their past glory and rising back to power and taking over both worlds. Both the world they came from and Earth, because they ended up in Japan. And the main one, Mao, works at McDonald's. But yeah. So, trying to think. The story of this one was definitely good. There was they introduced a lot of new characters. We got Ramis here, which is a little girl that was part of Yggdrasil. There's a lot of fancy names here. Which you also learn that the sword is also a piece of Yggdrasil, which I forgot what Yggdrasil was. It was like a tree or like an ornament or something. It was just like a source of power that the heavens want back, that was lost, is broken into many pieces. We have Amelia here, who is the hero, and she has the sacred sword, which is a piece of the Yggdrasil. And then Mao is the Devil King, and he's trying to take back the world. So in the second season, though, they start introducing these new characters, these new angels that they had to fight. It's kind of funny, is like the villain from the last one, or the evil angel from the last one, made a return, but he was such like a background character and very little importance. It was just like, why did we bother like introduce him? Like he literally just got like erased off the face of the earth. Like he was there, but he was like, yeah, whatever. And then they started making references to I think another guy that they thought was dead, but he wasn't dead or something. The thing about this kind of show is there's a lot of information you got to remember from the previous season to the second season. So like this show kind of falls in the park of like, you need to watch them very closely, like the seasons closely together, to remember what happens clearly, to get like the most out of it. But as far as like other things, like the art was okay. It wasn't very like anything super amazing. It was kind of a little bit more on the basic side. Story wise, like I said this already, I thought they did a much better job progressing the story. However, the thing that I didn't like was in the first season, it was more about like Mao was getting accustomed to the human world and trying to like live out his life here in Japan. And so you saw a lot more of like devils trying to be humans, and there was more just like normal stuff going on, and it made the show more entertaining because like he's like, here's a friar, he needs to work the fryer. Oh, he's got an angry customer he's got to deal with and stuff like that. Like, that's what made the show a lot more unique the first season. This season, however, they kind of not really threw that out the window, but more just kind of like put a stronger emphasis on devils versus angels, where that was the main plot for this season, where like constantly they were having some kind of conflict with an angel or some kind of devil, or there was also a guardian at one point of like Japan, even though there was like, it's kind of weird because I was under the impression that there was nothing in the world, or like when they moved over there was nothing in Japan, like no supernatural being. It was like all the supernatural beings were in the other world. So like, yeah, the story was interesting. We got clues about Amelia's mother. They started teasing Mao's backstory, and I just wanted to know, like, Amelia's story was like, okay, that's interesting, but like, I want to know Mao's. Like, they didn't tell me anything about Mao's. They just said like yes, he has a connection to Amelia's mother. They made that clear. They made that very, very clear. But it's just like, he seems to not know himself for why he does the things. Like, why, like, they keep, like, everyone keeps saying he's a terrible person, he's evil, right? But clearly, like, from what they've shown from the first season and the second season, that he is very good at heart, and he tried to do the best that he could for devils, but I don't understand his reason for trying to invade the world and take over everything. So like, they definitely left some room for the next season, which I think it's already confirmed there's another season. Hold on, let me check this. I'm pretty sure there is where did I put it? I don't remember what it's under. It's under I was trying to see if I remember where they put. Okay, I don't know where that is. Probably under another season that I'm not aware of, or whatever season it's coming to. But where does the show fall on our list here? It's tough to say. It's kind of tough. Like, a lot of people love the show. Like, I was never a super big fan of it. I liked it. I thought it was an interesting concept. There's a couple other shows I think follow this, because I think this was like one of the more original ones, and then there was a lot of copycats from its success. As far as character growth, she grew the most. I forget what her name is. What was it? I think I have it on the list here, actually. Hold on. I got this. I can tell you the name. I can tell you her name. Where is it? It was Jiho. That was it. Jiho. Oh, and it was Masuki. That was the villain's name from the last one. But there was like, the things that I thought were more interesting was like, she got like, Amelia did get more character development, more like story, but I feel like she's just way too angry, right? Like, it kind of took away from the whole second season. Like, she just became this very angry person all the time. It was kind of in your face. Like, she was just kind of constantly hitting. Like, I get that's her character. She's the hero. She doesn't like the devil. Stuff like that. But I remember, what's her name again? It was Susanoo. I'm glad I have this list here. Susanoo, in the first season, was more to the side of the devils. Like, yeah, she was trying to do something evil, but by the end, I felt like she was much more closely an ally. In this season, she seemed way more like an enemy, which was weird because they were still allies. So it was kind of confusing. Like, the second season, I just don't think was as good as the first season. And I'm not one to like always say, oh, hey, the first season's always the best one over another one. No, that's not me. I just, from the way how things turned out, it just seemed like I had more enjoyment from the first season because the way how they were new to things. In the second season, it just seemed more like they just were focused on the devils versus angels. So she didn't really have a ton of character growth. Lucifer didn't have a ton of character growth. Emmy had some, but she was mostly angry. Chiho definitely had some. She actually gained a power. I don't know how often she can use that power or whatnot. They kind of just left you with that, but that's a thing. I'm trying to remember her name, the little girl. I said it earlier, didn't I? It was Rami. Ramulus. She was cute. She was definitely a new addition to the thing, which did completely change Mao's character, where he became this loving father. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, Mao is great, but there's one character that stands above all these characters, and that's Aisha. I was gonna say, can you not see my cursor? I thought my cursor was supposed to be on there. Hold on, where's my cursor? Cursor. Supposed to display my cursor. Oh no, it does cursor. Am I not seeing it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I realized I had no pointer. But yeah, Aisha. He deserves so much more than the rest of this group. He's completely loyal to Mao. He does literally everything for everyone around him. Like, he literally will even help. Like, he doesn't want to, but like, if it's in the benefit of everyone, he will literally help the heroes. He literally has, there was a new Amy's coworker, Rika. I think that's his name, Rika. Yes. Is literally in love with him. Like, he deserves everything. Like, he gets so much shit hit on him. Like, it's not fair. This man deserves to be like married. All right, somebody go put a ring on his hand and take care of him, because he will definitely take care of you. All right. If I was doing a tier list on characters, like from S to F, he would definitely be an S. There's no doubt about it. Like, Vermilia would be an A, just to give you an idea. Like, she was great in the show. But Aisha here, S, Mao, A, Amelia, B. Just like, just give you an idea. Like, he would be, like, he was loyal. It just, there's so much. And there was so many times, he had so much screen time too this time, where before I felt like he was kind of more of a background character in the first season. This season, he was definitely like almost center stage. But yeah, I think that covers everything I did want to talk about it. They did confirm there's a third season. I don't remember where I saw it, but there's a third season somewhere coming. I will watch the second or the third season. Am I super looking forward to it? I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a show. It's not like a show for me. Like, the first season was definitely like a show for me. I liked it. It was interesting. It was new. But to like continuously follow it, like, you have to have some interest in it. But like, it kind of puts me in this weird place. Is where do I throw this? Because I don't think it still stands out as being a kind of a unique show. But the question is, where does it fall? Because it's like, it almost like it overlaps between these two like categories, where I don't think it necessarily deserves to be put lower. I feel like it's almost a must-watch. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna throw this. I feel like it deserves like a low must-watch. So we will put this here for now, but I think it's like a low must-watch. Like, it's a good show to watch. A lot. You can learn a few things from it that are kind of interesting. A few things to, like, you know, about Japan and stuff like that, and like daily life cycles and things that people have to go through. But yeah, it's kind of hard to place this one. Actually, you know what? I put my second opinion. I'm actually gonna throw this here. I don't think it's too much there. I do think it's probably above Vermilia. Vermilia was more kind of like niche. I mean, this one's niche too, but I think it's worth mentioning. So I guess that'll bring us on to the next one. Oh, we talked about that one for a while. Which is actually Ruby. So I am a big fan of Ruby. I actually did not watch this one at all, but I do know quite a bit about this one. So this is the Ruby Ice Queendom. So this is about, it's kind of like a side story from the main one. So if you've ever watched Ruby, there's like, I think they're coming out with the 9th season in a couple of months. So there's 8 seasons currently out. This is back during season 2 when they're at the school, Vale, in the Kingdom of Vale. I was trying to remember what the name of the academy is called. But yeah, there's still students there, and from my understanding is the way how this show works is, well, actually it doesn't take place during the 2nd season. It actually takes place, I think, it's kind of hard. So from my understanding is the first 3 episodes are the remake of the beginning of the 1st season. So like it goes through like the introduction of like Ruby, Yang, Weiss, and Blake here, and like it redoes a lot of the first few episodes of the 1st season, but then I think it changes through the course of it to like its own story. It becomes the side story, and this is where it kind of gets weird because I don't know much more beyond this, but what I do know is people had mixed feelings about this one. Like, people kept saying that the animations for this look great. I honestly thought, from what I saw, from like the trailers that I saw posted online and stuff like, or like the scenes that were posted, is so they redid. There was even like side by side comparisons I saw where like they changed some animations, some of the fight scenes and stuff like that that happened in the first few episodes, and I thought they looked worse. Like, yeah, I know that like you can't, like the original one didn't look amazing, so like some things were definitely improvement, but also like the way that they changed some of the things that happened, like I didn't like that. I did not like like one of the favorite things is literally in the first episode where Ruby's getting tapped on the shoulder and is like, "You talking to me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to rob you." And she's like, "Oh." And this, where she was much more kind of like monotone and kind of like unfazed by it. That was what the original one. And this one, she's like, "Yes, can I help you?" It was just like much more upbeat, and it kind of like killed some of the comedy of that part. It was like, yeah, it's still the same, but it doesn't feel the same. It was kind of like changed to a degree where I didn't feel like it. I don't know. It just, I can't really say too much more about this because I didn't watch all of it, and I probably will watch it eventually, but I just didn't have the interest because it just seemed mostly like a remake, and I didn't like that. So I think for now I am going to, look at this. I think I'm just going to put this one in the no opinion. I wouldn't say, if you like Ruby, it's maybe worth the thing, but I think I need to do more investigation on this one. It's just, from what I've seen, is it got really confusing because I saw like clips where suddenly the characters were like multiplying and fighting themselves, and it was like they were stuck in a dream and stuff like that, and I'm like, what the flip is going on? I don't know. I need to watch the show, so there's no opinion. Oop, I changed my screen size, didn't I? What did I do? No. Stop. I don't know what's going on. That's fine. So we're just going to throw that one in there. So then I guess that brings us on to the next one, which was Rent a Girlfriend. Yeah, this is one to talk about. So for those that haven't seen Rent a Girlfriend, also welcome, T-Bird. How you doing today? It's a story about this guy who goes to college, and his girlfriend here, Mimi, this blonde hair one, breaks up with him after they were dating for like a couple of months or something like that. And the kid becomes so heartbroken and just like lonely and depressed that he ends up finding out about this service called Rent a Girlfriend, where you rent a girlfriend and just go out on dates and stuff, which is Chizuru. So this is the second season of that, and there was a lot of stuff that happened in the first season that made it really good, but oh my god, I gotta tell you, this is a cringe show. Between the first season and the second season, there is lots and lots of cringe. It will literally make you cringe, no doubt about it. But in the first season, it was great. Like, yeah, it was very cringy, but the characters and stuff were interesting to learn about. There was a lot of teasers for what's to happen, and like the characters were growing closer, stuff like that. But I'm not going to go into too much detail about the first season. We're here to talk about the second season. So the second season, yeah, I didn't finish watching it. It's another one. I know the last two I talked about. Well, the last two, I literally didn't watch it. I watched the first 3 episodes. I think it was 3. Hold on, let me double check. Where did I leave off on this one? Oh no, sorry, 2. I watched the first 2 episodes. Oh, that's even less than I thought. And what ended up happening was it was extremely cringe. Like, this was bad cringe. It wasn't even enjoyable cringe. It was just... Ugh. So this one's still on my list. I'm definitely gonna watch this one at one point, but I think I know the general gist of what happened from some clips I saw and stuff like that, where this character what's her name? I just said it. I cannot remember. Mimi? Yeah, Mimi. Became way more an important character of really... So, like, actually, I gotta go back to the first season. So, in the first season, we have Rika, which was another rent-a-girlfriend that wants to actually be the main character's girlfriend. And then we also have Saka? I don't remember her name exactly. But she's also a rent-a-girlfriend in training. She's just a really nice girl that literally doesn't speak much. But she's friends with Chizuru. And I'll get back to her in a minute because she actually was kind of important from what I saw. But Mimi, in the second season, from my understanding, becomes way more of an important character than she did in the first season. So in the first season, she finds out about the whole rent-a-girlfriend. And if you don't know about Mimi from the first season, she's kind of famous, where she is the scary stalker girlfriend. So, or jealous, like, she does not want anyone to date the main character. Like, she currently, her mission is to expose the whole rent-a-girlfriend, which that's actually one thing I glossed over. In the first season, Chizuru and the main character both lied to their grandmothers, which then they spread the rumors that these two are actually dating. So now they have to lie about being an actual girlfriend and boyfriend. But yeah, it was just the second season just was so much cringe, and I have so many other shows that I watched at the time that I just didn't get around to watching it. It was actually it's a good thing you're here, T-Bird, because I actually have a show for you that I did watch. But we'll get to that later. But like, the characters are interesting. I like the characters, but in the beginning of season 2, Rika, which was probably one of my, like, Chizuru is a great character. I love her. She's great. She's best girl. I love Suki more. Or Sakura? I don't remember her name. I think it was Sakura. Even though she's very quiet, she's super nice. It's kind of weird. She's like outgoing but very shy. She's a very interesting character. Like, they're all interesting characters. Rika has this thing where she wants to like make her heart race so it gets higher. So that's why she's so interesting in the main character, because the main character was the only one to make her heart race. And I'm not sure if she has a medical problem, but like, I'm hoping, and I literally can't give too much opinion because I don't know too much of the past than a couple episodes in the few clips I watched where they went on. The only thing I do know is they definitely made in the second season Mimi's much more outgoing and trying to stop the main character. What was his name? Kuzura? I think it was Kuzura was his name. From breaking them up. So like, she becomes a way more important character in the second season. And she kind of in the first few episodes kind of felt like a background character, to be honest. It was kind of weird, even though she's the main girl. So where does this show fall? Like, I feel like I have a good grasp on it. I feel like it might be somewhere between these two, but it all depends on what the other episodes, because there was great moments in the first season. There were great moments, and I do recommend watching it if you can fight your way through all the cringe. There is a lot of cringe, which makes this show very, very, very unique. I'll give it that. It's very unique. I can't even put it into words. It's just like, there's no other show like it where the guy rents a girlfriend and they have to fake it. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, they fake the girlfriend. But this one's a little bit more different, where it's kind of more like, will they become real girlfriend and boyfriend, or will they just remain separate? And when, like, you start learning like the background story, which in the beginning you got to see some of that come true, and the main character actually, or the main girl here, Chizuru, get crushed in the first few episodes, where she wants to be an actress, so that's why she's a rent-a-girlfriend, because she has to pretend to be a girlfriend. And in the first few episodes, she has a play, and she plays a kind of an important role. And literally, as the main character said it, was she put on this amazing act during her play. Like, she literally, like, people were even commenting around her that, like, she was stealing the show. Like, she did a great job, stuff that. And one person at the end of the show was possibly going to be awarded an actual, like, job. And then literally what ends up happening is the daughter that was or the granddaughter that was actually like the guy who's scouting the play ends up getting it again, because it's the granddaughter. And that crushes Chizuru. Like, and then like she tries to hide it, but he knows, and he does. I can't even remember what happens, but I just remember it being super cringy, and literally like, it makes her feel better, but she's also like weirded out by it. So like, it's definitely a show to watch. I don't know if it falls under a must watch, but I think it doesn't deserve a no opinion either, because I feel like I have a good grasp on where the show falls. So like, I'm gonna put it on the low end of average for now, because I don't know more about it, but I feel like it's a show that's worth mentioning, and that other people should eventually at least see the first season. If you can fight your way through all the first season, congratulations, you deserve a medal, because it's very good. Like, I cannot stress the cringe part about it so much. But yeah, that was the second season of Rent-A-Girlfriend. I think there may be a third season coming. I definitely will watch the third season when I caught up. I still haven't even caught up with Love is War. That's another one I need to watch. I think I was on the third season of that one. And I think there's one more season coming out for that one. But yeah. I definitely am going to watch this one eventually. I have to get through a lot of other shows. But for now, let's move on to a show I actually did complete. I watched the whole thing. Parallel World Pharmacy. I love this one. This was a great one. So we have the main character, Thelma. No, not Thelma. Thelma. Something with an F. Fairmu? You know, I think I have the name here somewhere. Hold on. I have it. Or I don't. I don't have the name. Never mind. Moving on. This show was interesting. So this is an isekai, where the main character was a pharmacist in our world, and he was helping to discover cures in a lab in like a pharmacy. And he worked himself day and night, just constantly working, trying to help discover these medicines to help people. And then one night he was just so tired, he laid down and he died in his sleep. That's the start of the story, is he dies. And his assistant walks in and finds him dead in the morning. He gets reborn as this kid here named Pharma. I know I'm messing up the name. I just remember it started with an F. And he wakes up to this wealthy family from, I'm trying to think of the time period. I think the Renaissance? No, not the Renaissance. Medieval. It was around medieval. I know that. Is that around the Renaissance time? I need to really educate myself on the time periods. So he gets reborn into this wealthy family where his father is a pharmacist. Like, his whole family is basically like a pharmacist, and he actually is born with special, like, there's magic in the world, so they use both like the herbal techniques and like stuff we use plus magic, but like there's limits to like what you can do and stuff like that, and you're only born with like specific magic and stuff like that. But what ended up happening is he wasn't really born a baby. Instead, like, you know, from square one, he actually took over this kid's body, the original Pharma's, and now he's Pharma. And he actually gains these scars on his arms. They look like lightning bolts, but like made computer design, where they're like wires. And he has like a negative hand and a positive hand, and he can use them to create different magics by adding and subtracting things. So he uses his knowledge from his world to use in this world. So like, this world didn't have, like most shows like this, they usually make like, oh, they don't even know that using like olive leaves help with like dry skin and stuff like that. Like, no, this world actually had a decent knowledge of like medicine and stuff like that. It wasn't like very poor or anything. He came in and just brought in more advanced thing, because that's an easy thing that most shows do, where they, or stories from like any kind of like manga, where they kind of just like take our level, make it a little bit better, and then they just make the other one way down the dumps. Like, they're terrible, they know nothing. That's not what happened in this show. He literally just brought in his knowledge and added it on to their knowledge, and they combined to make better knowledge, because he had to learn the magic and all that and how to use it to his benefit with his knowledge. So they taught each other things. But he also, in the beginning, he was keeping that he wasn't the original farmer a secret from other people. So as the story goes on, he starts helping cure new disease, new practices that we do nowadays in the modern world, stuff like that, and started carrying it over. And one of the big things that happens in the beginning, so actually I was going to talk about that. Let me jump back a little, because I realized I was getting ahead of himself. The first thing that happens is he doesn't know how to use any of the magic that he's granted. He doesn't even realize he fully has it. So he has to have, I forget her name though, but she is the one that teaches him magic. She's the tutor that was originally his tutor, no matter what. But as they're training, she realizes suddenly he has these overpowered abilities that suddenly came out of nowhere, where he didn't have them from the previous Pharma. And she was getting very concerned with how powerful his water magic was and stuff like that. And then they're sitting on a park bench, or one of the benches in the garden at his estate, and she looks down and realizes he has no shadow. I thought that was interesting. It was kind of freaky to look at too in an anime where a character literally does not have a shadow. He literally was just looked like he was floating on the ground, but he wasn't. He was walking. And apparently in their world, that stands for signs of like godly demons and stuff like that. And she became afraid of him, and he had to try to convince her that he wasn't bad. Anyways, he actually was a very nice person, and he tried to do everything he did. Like the first few episodes of this show was great. I loved it. It was so much good, and it still continues on. It just kept like steamrolling to the next, to the next, to the next. So eventually he convinces her. Then from there, he starts getting more and more magic. But then a very important event happens, and then this affects the whole kingdom, where the queen gets a disease, and they know what the disease is, but they don't have a way to cure it. So he goes there with his father, which his father, they even show you in the show, is he's a brilliant pharmacist. Like he's the master of the magics and his great knowledge of medicine. Like he even knew, like the main character was really impressed. Like if this man was in the modern era, he would be like an Einstein, basically, where he would, like, if he knew all the things that we knew today, he would literally be like the best doctor in the world. Like he was great. I love the father. The father was great. Like at first I thought he was gonna be like this bad dude and stuff, and the way they played it off, but no, he turned out to be like this great dude. Like he was firm. They had this whole confrontation where like nobody could cure the queen. They always said like, this is farewell. Like her son's crying next to him and stuff like that. And Pharmacist Extraordinary goes, I can cure you. I can do it. And literally like, be gone, child. You don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, I can do this. And he knew what this. Oh, I forgot. One of the powers he does have is he would make like a V with his fingers, on his hand. Like he'd split his two fingers so they're separate, and he would put them around one of his eyes, and he could use that to scan people, and he would see where people were affected. So like, say you had like a hurt pointer finger or something like that, it'd be glowing, but he still had to like confirm what the disease was to figure out what it was. So if he wasn't sure, he had to like do a few things. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically once it glowed a certain color, then he knew, he's like, okay, that's what I need to do, and I need to get this medicine to figure out. They did that to the queen. I forget what the disease was called. It was like white cough or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was a disease that in their era, it's very deadly. But in our era, it's literally nothing. Like we can easily cure it. So he had to make a risk. So he went to the castle's pharmacy lab, and there he started working on the medicine. That's when the father shows up, and the two almost have like a battle in the middle of the pharmacy, where Pharma creates a wall while he's trying to build, like a wall of ice, while he's trying to build or make the medicine. And the two talk back and forth, and then eventually the father realizes that he's serious. This isn't some kind of joke. He's actually serious. And to sum the story up here, he does convince the father. The father lets him make his medicine. They give the medicine. It's administer the same thing. They even prove to everyone there that it's not going to be poison. He goes, I will take the medicine with you, when he tells the queen. And so he starts, every day he becomes the personal like the I'm trying to think of a word, I guess the nurse for the queen, and he's there every day for the next couple of months treating her with this, and she gets better and better until she becomes fully cured. Well, because of that event, she makes him a royal pharmacist, so now he's a very important role, and she grants him a spot of land in the capital to make his own pharmacy, which was called Parallel World Pharmacy. And that's where the story basically continues from there. So that's like the first 3-4 episodes. So as they go through, a few more events happen. they have to do some things to try to hide that he's like. Oh, one thing I forgot to explain about this girl here is she starts believing I forget what the name of the god was, but basically there's a god of medicine or a god of like healing and I think it was like a fine line between healing and death, but people know this god to be very good. It wasn't just like a death god, it was stuff. And she believes that Pharma is a reincarnation of him, and a couple other people started doing that through the show. Like there's some priest that came after him believing he was a devil and stuff like that. But like all the time through this, all he does is try to help people. Like even if they're trying to kill him, he's still trying to help them. Like Pharma is great, I love it, and she was adorable, and she helped out a lot, but she was just kind of like the mascot girl for like everything. But Pharma, like literally, like he has to tackle these new problems and stuff like that. And like the two serious diseases were like the one for the queen, then he had like the battle with the priests that come after him, and they try to eradicate him, and he ends up accidentally breaking one of the priest's legs, and he has to like, it's a break that the person will bleed out slowly over time because it's like an internal break. And but he's like, I'm gonna cure you. I don't care if you try to kill me. I'm here to help people. I don't care. And literally from that, he gains basically somewhat of a following. That they realize he's not a bad person, and the guy who had the broken leg, a couple months later, he becomes the new bishop. So now this bishop is helping Pharma hide his identity as, like, you know, possibly this god. And the show just keeps going on and on. But then like the big, which even today this would be a major disease, even though we've fully eradicated it, was the big climax. And I think this was most of the show by the end, was then they start getting into the Black Plague, where they find out this island was completely eradicated, and they were having this festival, and he has to try to prevent it. So you start seeing like he starts making these like quarantine zones that people have to go through to make sure like, okay, you don't have it, stuff like that. It was just a lot of good stuff, and some of the characters just kind of like connected the dots between each other. It was all like a lot of good characters. It was a lot of good fun to watch this show. Like I liked it. I learned a few things from it too. Like all in all, like I won't say how it ends at the end, but unfortunately the thing is, I don't think this show will get a second season, and even if it does, I don't think it'll do as well as the first season unless they do something major, because it's kind of hard to go past like one of the worst diseases humanity's ever faced, which was the Black Plague, or bubonic plague, if you want to call it that. So all in all, I thought this was a great show. It was interesting. Like, yes, there was another isekai. There was a few rough patches in there, here and there, but I love the characters. I love the story. I love the art style. It was so much good. A little bit by the end, I thought it kind of, you know, not as good, but I still thought it was good all overall. So where does this show fall? Honestly, I think the show falls in a must watch. Like, it was really good. I wouldn't say like it was really out there, but I just loved it a lot. And you can learn a few things about medicine from it, and like some of the practices and stuff like that. So like, I think some people should go out and see it for themselves. Because there's still a few parts I didn't even mention, like some characters he runs into, and they end up happening in a couple other events and stuff like that. But I thought that show was great. If it does get a second season, I definitely watch it. I just don't think a second season will happen based on it. It kind of ends leaving it like, oh, story's all wrapped up, all done. And to be honest, I don't think it does need a second season. So I think it's kind of like a one and done. If there is more and it does good, great. I would gladly watch it. But does it really need a second season? I don't think it does. I think I think a second season would be too much for it and would kind of ruin the magic that was the first one. Like, unless they do something similar or better that the first season, like some disease. Like, imagine them suddenly throwing COVID. Probably shouldn't mention that. But just imagine that. It'd be very interesting to see more, but I don't think it needs a second season. I think it's fine the way it is. It was a great show to watch, and I recommend you watch it. All right, so then we get on to a big one here. Overlord Season 4. So if I'm not going to explain all of Overlord. There's a lot of story there to cover, 3 seasons worth. But for you that have watched it, this is the 4th season. It continues on. This season was interesting. And I'm going to say it's interesting due to the fact that they kind of changed how the characters behaved. And there were some character growth in this season, which I liked. I was really sad we didn't get to see one of my favorite characters, Cerberus. I think that's his name, Cerberus. But Ainz Al Ghul, love him. He returns again, obviously, because he's the main character. I don't think he really grew this season. The only one that I thought that actually grew was Sheltier, because normally she's just kind of kill, murder, stuff like that. But this season she actually was like trying to learn, trying to improve herself, and I was like, oh, great. But I think the big issue I had this season is they introduced so many new characters. Like they don't even show any of them on here. There was like, I think 12 new characters, and like I'm expecting them to return. They weren't like there for majority of the time. One of the characters also, I will say this about this season. There was one character that I hope he rots and dies because he screwed over everyone. So this is literally, if you've watched the previous seasons, there's the kingdom, there's the empire, and then there's the sorcerer kingdom. The 3 like countries there, and the sorcerer kingdom is led by Ainz Al Ghul and all his followers of the Tomb of Nazareth. And in this season is the fall of the kingdom. And it's kind of weird because they killed off a bunch of characters, but they also introduced a bunch of new characters. And finally there was actually somebody who was worth an opponent for these guys, because these guys are too ridiculously overpowered. So like, where's the show? Like, it's kind of hard to say. Like, some things I thought was interesting. So previous seasons, they were very much like, oh, they're the evil guys. They did this. In the beginning of this season, they were much more the good guys. They were trying to make El Rante, I think is the name of the city, like this safe haven for people and try to make it better. But people were too scared because, you know, the undead are walking the streets, even though they're not trying to kill them. It's still kind of like, hey, there's a skeleton marching outside my door. So it became this whole thing where Ainz was going out of his way to help like the humans and stuff and the people of the kingdom grow and, like, you know, make better. Like, he made an orphanage, he made the Adventurers Guild better there and stuff like that. It was just like investing into things and stuff. Then he went to the Empire, and then he also was trying to recruit followers from there as well. Which, by the way, I feel so bad for the Emperor of the Empire, because the poor guy is literally has like, he's gonna be bald in like another season or 2, because he is literally like stressed the hell out, thinking Ainz is gonna like murder him and like annihilate him in the worst like unimaginable way and stuff like that. And literally like Ainz was like, oh, I just came here to recruit followers. I wasn't doing this on purpose, because he had like a secret meeting to help with this like church to overthrow, like to help take down Ainz, and like they just happened to be there at the same time Ainz won something. Like, I thought that was kind of interesting and funny, but nothing super out there worth mentioning. But trying to think of the next. The show, I liked the show. Like, you know, it was a continuation. They did things differently, which made me interesting, because it wasn't like the last season where they had the big giant war and suddenly like the whole kingdom had no army now. But basically what ends up happening is they use this stupid, idiotic, dumbass asshole of a noble son to basically start a war with the Empire and wipe them out. I think his name was Frederick. Screw you, Frederick. You literally screwed over everyone. You need to go die in a flippin' hole. You literally greedy, son of a bastard. Like, his father? Okay, man. He didn't do anything wrong. But the son? God damn, he was an asshole. I hate him. He literally screwed over everyone. He literally was like, oh, geez, you know what's a great idea? You know the kingdom that I'm aligned with? The Sorcerer Kingdom? Helping, you know, make peace and stuff like that. You know what would be a great idea? Let's attack their caravan of resources. Right? They won't realize it's me attacking the caravan on my plot of land. Yeah, they learned. They know. And you literally caused the downfall because you're also a part of the Empire. Or the kingdom. I don't remember if he dies or not in the show. I don't think he does. I think he survived. They never showed it. But that dude deserves worse than death. He does. He really, 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 really does. Like, I flippin' hate him. He is in the flippin' just, if you see him on sight tier, murder him. Dude, like, I can't believe he did that to people. Like, he was so dumb. Alright, but moving on from there. So they did originally, in the beginning of the show, they tried to be very political, very, like, you know, make peace and stuff. But I think there was the end goal, no matter what, for Ainz to start this war with the kingdom to eradicate it and make it an example. That was the whole plot of the story, is they want to eliminate the kingdom so that way no other country will challenge them when they realize, hey, we wiped them out. They weren't even going to rebuild the kingdom. The kingdom is gone. It is just rubble. I won't say too much what happens because I feel like it wouldn't be really worth watching. There was a really, really interesting enemy that appears near the end, and I'm looking forward to the 5th season when that comes out now, because now they're gearing this up for like all these different people to take revenge and actually stand a threat to all these characters here. Because I feel like right now the show kind of teeters on this point where nobody's a threat, because they even went to like these new, they went to a dragon, and the dragon's like, I am the most powerful dragon in the world, and he's just like, all right, snap your fingers, and he's dead now. And they just introduced so many dragons. Like, there's a bookworm dragon that's now part of Ainz's group. There's a dwarf. Oh yeah, by the way, you also got the dwarf kingdom all to join the sorcery kingdom as well. Like, his influence grows. Like, the Empire is now part of the sorcerer kingdom. The dwarven kingdom is part of the sorcerer kingdom, and the kingdom itself is just gone. So it's part of the sorcerer kingdom territory now, but there's literally nothing there. It's literally just barren wasteland now. But where does the show fall? I mean, the art style is still kind of, there were some parts. I love the art in the Colosseum. Something about the Colosseum really stood out to me, where I thought it was very interesting to look at. But overall, it was the same from the previous seasons. The beginning of the show was just like, hey, they're good guys for once. They're not actually evil and stuff like that. Then as it got close to the end, it's like, never mind, they're back to being evil. So, like, yes, I want to see the main character and his friends there grow the kingdom and stuff like that. But I'm getting to the point now where I really just want to see them, like, get a good enemy that actually has a good fight against them, which they finally did at the end of the season. But, like, it still doesn't feel like he's powerful enough. If you watch the fight scene, you learn that it's like, oh, this guy still doesn't have a chance, does he? What I want to see is literally, like, multiple, like characters of that power level fighting Ainz's army. Like, that's the point I'm starting to reach. I want to see the other side win against this cast of characters. I don't know how this story is going to be ended. This is why I still watch the show, because I'm very curious to see how they're going to end it. Are they going to make, the main characters, the villains, win? Or are they going to make the other side win? Because it might be just the villains win in the end. Or it could be the heroes end. So, I don't know. There's not too much to say about the show. There wasn't really anything worth super note in there, but it's not a bad show. It wasn't like it's a watch if you're interested in the show. But if you're gonna watch this season, you gotta watch the other seasons first, because they kind of like everything in this season leads up to it. Actually, there was one thing that confused me right at the end, and I won't talk about it too much. But like one of the characters, I realized, I'm like, okay, I thought they were gonna just join them, or Ainz and his friends at the end. No, apparently they've been a part of him this whole time, and apparently I was just so oblivious to it in the past seasons. So like that's kind of worth the watch. The ending was just kind of like total annihilation. Oh, there was one more thing, and I have to mention this because the character's now dead. I'm sorry, spoiler. Yes, this character's dead. But the prince for the kingdom, who in the previous seasons was always a complete asshole. Oh, I always thought he was just kind of like a stubborn asshole. So if you watch the previous seasons, there were the two princes and the princess. We're not going to talk about the princess. We're going to talk about the prince. So the older prince died. At least I believe he's dead. They never actually confirm it. I just think he's dead. Excuse me. Actually, hold on. Let me grab a water real quick. So, the prince in the older prince, I believe, is confirmed dead. But the younger prince, in the previous seasons, he was kind of like the smarter one. He was chubby. He didn't look, like he couldn't ever possibly be a good leader and stuff like that. Like you thought he was going to be like this asshole of a character. He actually, in this season alone, made him a great character. And I forgot I need to mention this because this was a very important part in this season. There's a final battle between the Sorcerer Kingdom and the kingdom itself, the last remaining forces of the army, and the prince personally goes out to battle with them. And the morale of his soldiers are not great. And the prince goes out in the middle of the battlefield and has a meeting with Ainz, and the two talk to each other about creating peace between them. And they literally talk about this back and forth. And the more that Ainz and the prince talk to each other, they realize that they're more alike than they realize. And even the prince starts to understand. He goes, I get it. You want your people to be happy in some ways. Like, this is a symbol for other kingdoms to not mess with you. And I get it. Like, he understood. He actually turned into this really great, caring guy. And I would give him, like, once going back to a tier list of characters, I honestly, before I would have put him like maybe C, maybe D, as being kind of like an asshole character. This time I would put him as an A. Not an S, but definitely like a good solid A. Like, he became like such a great character. But what ends up happening is, after the talks with Ainz, he goes back to his encampment with his soldiers, and some of the lords there come to talk to him about it. And he goes, I'm sorry that I tried my best, but it didn't work out. And they're like, you fool, you got to sacrifice yourself. And he goes, he doesn't even bother to tell them that they're wasting their breath, that killing, like, him sacrificing himself would not bring peace. It's already decided that Ainz is going to eliminate the kingdom, and that they are all gonna die. So what the lords do instead is, the prince takes out his sword with his steward. It's just them two versus the lords, and he fights them. They don't actually show the fight, but you see the aftermath, and the prince loses horribly. Like, he literally stood no chance. Nobody, like, and they bring the head of the prince to Ainz. And Ainz goes, very good. If you come this way, I will grant you the safe. I'll grant you mercy that you asked for. And they're like, thank you. He actually lures them towards a fate worse than death. And he gives the head of the prince to Albedo and goes, give him a proper burial. And then he goes to little elf girl here. I can't remember her name. Aura. That's her name. Aura. And goes, make sure those lords, when they start begging for death, don't stop. Keep going. And I thought that was the best scene in the whole season. Was just like, you realized how much he suddenly cared for this guy he did care about, like, literally moments ago. And just, like, he respected him. He learned, like, the prince was deserving a good burial. He tried his best. He failed. He was up against a force that he couldn't handle. There wasn't much he could do. He deserved better. And that was probably the best scene in the whole season. And I loved it. It's actually, I think, on Crunchyroll, like, collection. If you go watch on YouTube, you can just see the scene where he offers them, like, worse than death or no mercy. So I go, like, even if you don't watch the season, just going to see that scene, that was great. I loved it. I'm not sure if they do. I don't think they do the whole what's it called? They don't show the parts before. They just show once they bring the head. But all in all, I thought it was a good show. There was some ups and downs. It was different a little bit than the other seasons. It definitely left me wondering what's going to happen in the next season. So I think all in all, this was a great season for setting up for another season. And other than that one part that happened, the rest of it was just kind of not really filler, but just kind of like it was carrying to the plot forward. It wasn't like anything that super stood out, but yeah, I liked it. So now we're left with, where does this show go? I honestly, it's kind of hard to say, because if you're a fan of it, I feel like it's a must watch because obviously it's important. But, like, does it deserve to go above some of these shows? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm kind of lost at where to put this one. I definitely wouldn't put it as, yeah, it definitely does not deserve to be down here anywhere. Like, I would not put it as, why are you not watching it? I feel like, I think what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to put it here. For now. If you guys think it should go somewhere else, I might be swayed. But honestly, I thought, ooh, I did the thing again where I shouldn't do that. I think it was a pretty decent show. Solid. Didn't do anything unique. So it didn't stand out enough to be considered unique. But yeah, I still thought it was enjoyable to watch. If you like it, that kind of show, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So I guess that brings me to my next show. I forget the name of it because I think it's really long. Is my SIC-O Live. I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world. Hello, Melinda. Oh, you have yet to watch it? That's all right. It's kind of a long show, but not really. It's kind of like some of the characters are unique. The concept of it is a cool idea. But like I said, if you like, here's my suggestion. If you like Reincarnated Slime, if you've ever seen that, it's literally the same concept of, like, the main character in another world trying to grow stronger and stuff like that. It's literally the same idea, and they're trying to build a kingdom. They're both shows or stories about trying to build a kingdom and grow stronger, but one is good, one is evil. So
it's kind of like seeing the other side of that. So like slime is good, Overlord's evil. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I definitely recommend watching Slime though. If you haven't seen Reincarnated as a Slime, that's a good one. I love it. Can't wait for the next season. So now we're on to my next one, My Isekai Life. I just said the whole name. I'm not gonna say it. This one. So I watched this one just because it had cute little slimes in it. I'm gonna be honest, that's the main reason why I watched this. So the main character, Yuji, like most isekais, gets transported into a video game world where, as the name suggests, he gains 2 classes. So he's a summoner and a sage. So he can summon these slimes, or actually, I think he's a tamer. It's not a summoner, it's a tamer. He's a tamer and a sage. So these slimes basically meet him in the beginning. Well, actually, you don't even get to see the beginning until like a couple of episodes later. It's kind of weird. So you actually just start off right at the event of something. I actually don't think I'll talk about this show too much because honestly, there was not anything like it wasn't a bad show. It's so hard to put this one. So like the slimes, super cute, love them. They were adorable. I love their little like, Yuji, I'm hungry. Yuji, I'm sleepy. It's just like a constantly. I love the slimes. The slimes were adorable. I like them. Like some of them had little personalities, like the eye patch or the eyebrows and stuff like that. But the show was basically he's just trying to live his life quietly and not stand out too much. But this guy's like wicked overpowered, obviously, because he's the strongest sage apparently. And he's trying to just be an adventurer, and he's just trying to experience things in the world. Like literally one of his things is he tries to go to the city just because he heard they had really great food. But he basically, as he goes along, he just encounters random events created by this church called the Church of the Blue Moon. And they're basically bad guys. The whole goal is they're trying to like eradicate the world to create a new world. That's their thing. And he just keeps happening to be where their plots are happening. So like the story is kind of basic. It's kind of, you know, not really out there as being like an amazing show. It's like, and the art style was okay. The animations were a little lacking. Like the animations definitely could have been better. I feel like I'm saying so much negative about this, but like it honestly wasn't bad. It just wasn't like, would I say watch this over something else that's similar? Like there was nothing really special about this show. There was nothing. And also the way how the show ends, they basically end it with like ending everything, and then somehow suddenly there's a new group of villains. So it's just like, it's kind of hard to put it. It's just like, yeah, he won. He beat all the bad guys at the end. And then suddenly it's like, hey, the bad guys are back. Didn't he just kill them all at the end? I don't know. It was like, he just kept getting stronger and stronger. And then I'm like, is there anything that's like, even the enemies at the end, which were supposed to be like wicked overpowered, they were not really that powerful. Like he had, I think, one decent fight scene, and that was it. The rest of it was just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of like fell in there. So like, it's not a bad show. It's kind of like a show that you just watch for fun. There was a couple of characters, like there was a druid, I know that, but she was kind of not worth mentioning. The wolf here was just like a scaredy cat. Like literally the thing that made up the show was literally the slimes. Like the slimes were literally, I think, what carried the show. Like main character was just kind of like the monotone, just kind of talking about like, he goes, they may be a threat or something. Just like, it was just kind of plain. So I don't think I have much more to say to this other than it was okay. Would I watch it over other shows? Would I recommend watching it over other shows? Probably not. So honestly, I think I would put this a little bit above in this tier. Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the slimes. That was mostly why I watched the show. So next one. Oh, here's one that I actually did not watch, but I know tons of people talked about. Licorice Recoil. So, from my understanding, is this is a show about secret agent girls. Yeah, I think they're normally like schoolgirls, but they're also like secret agents. I honestly don't know too much about this plot. This is already going in no opinion because I don't know anything about it. But it is worth, I've heard people tell me it is worth the watch. It's different. And honestly, I saw somebody show me one of the scenes in this where the main girl here, right? There's a guy with like a gun. And he's just trying to like shoot her, and she just like casually just dodges to the right and left, like very, very like lazily, like, oh, why do I even bother? So I'm gonna have to check this one out myself at some point. I don't know too much about it, but I've seen a lot of like clips and stuff about this one. Seems like people really like this one, so it might be worth a watch, but I don't have an opinion on it, so we're just gonna throw it right down here. I hope everyone's enjoying the stream so far. If it seems like I'm rambling on sometimes, that's just how my brain works sometimes. All right, let's talk about another big one that happened this season. Oh, this one's actually big. We've got Danmachi, or How Not to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, Season 4. I'm going to tell you right now, Season 4, I love Danmachi. It's probably one of my more favorite shows. Yes, there's some sexualized girls and stuff like that, but what show doesn't have that? And Belle, the man that lures in both men and women that adore him. I like how they're like, how not to pick up girls in dungeon. It's like how not to pick up people in a dungeon. Like, he literally picks up like both men and women. But like, if you've ever seen Danmachi, it's a great show. It like sometimes the animation's a little, actually I can't even say that, but like between the last season and this season, the fight scenes in this show are fire. I love them. The fight scenes are great. I can't wait for more fight scenes like this. Like, Lady Danmachi has some of the best fight scenes I've seen it. Like, if you go back to the first season when he fights the Minotaur, literally a low-level enemy, they literally made that fight scene so good. They carried it again. There was a new enemy in this one. Literally an enemy that was, like, draining people, stopping people, like, you know, it was, like, slowly killing people over time and stuff like that. It was fast. It was smart. Great enemy. And they made the fight so epic. Like, I loved it. More shows need to learn from Danmachi on their fight scenes. I cannot stress the fight scenes enough. Because it isn't just... Also, if you've never seen Danmachi 2, someone please make Danmachi into an actual, like, full-fledged RPG open world. Like an MMO. I need this. I need a game based off of the lore of this show. Because so much of it, like, they go into so much detail in the lore. Like, how does the classes level up? What skills do you get? How do you earn things? Like, there's different levels of the dungeon. Oh, there isn't just one dungeon. There's multiple dungeons, stuff like that. Like, there's so much. And the enemies get so much harder. You have to require people to learn new skills. There's, like, they have grimoires to learn new skills and stuff like that. Or you can learn it by fighting or other things. There's different kinds of weapons. Like, there's elemental weapons and then your normal weapons and just, like, the different tiers of, like, the metal they're made out of and stuff like that. Like, Danmachi goes through so much detail, and it's so good. But that's not what we're here to talk about, is Danmachi as a whole. We're here to talk about Season 4. So how did Season 4 live up to the other seasons? Like I said, the fight scenes in this show, the Season 4, were great. It literally... There was a fight scene in the last season. If you haven't seen it, it's between... an intelligent Minotaur. I won't go too much into that one because this is definitely a show I recommend people watch. Where the they had an epic battle at the end. They basically, even though it seemed kind of like a copy, it was still just as good as the battle in that one. And it was fun. It was just, I loved watching the show. It's really good to watch it. I love learning the characters and stuff like that. And what was great about this season too is we got to see some characters that I've been wanting for a while to see progress a little bit. I still didn't get some of the progression I wanted, but some characters made progression that I wanted. Like Himame, she got stronger. Her ability became way more useful. I won't say what her ability is. Or maybe I should. She has the ability to make others people's levels go up by like 2 levels, I think it is, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but like the way how they score levels is literally from I think 0 to 7 right now. So like if you're a level 3 and you go, actually no, I think she only goes up by 1 level. Some of them can go up by 2, but I think it all depends on how close is the person to their next level. But she makes people gain a level, which that's massive. That's a big, powerful one. They actually have to hide it, the fact that she has that power. But she gains a new ability where she can use it on multiple people now. And that was big. I loved it. She can do it up to, I think, 5 people now. Yeah, I think she can now cast the ability on 5 people. That is huge. But it comes at a risk of her being immobilized. But once again, great character development. I like that. It was a very simple thing to make her more useful. Like, she already had a great power, but it was kind of niche. Now it's way more versatile. And I can't wait to see if she learns more things. These two weren't really worth mentioning. They're not really part of the guild, but it did learn more about them. It was nice. I forget what her name is. There's so many names in this show and so many different characters. She didn't grow as much, but I felt like she at least got more skill, because there was a lot of times where I felt like she was good, but then she'd always like fall kind of last minute, where she always needs somebody to come back her in. This season more felt like she was much more standing on her own 2 feet, which I liked. It wasn't so much like they didn't physically show it, but I thought she definitely looked like she improved, which was great. Wolf, I think, improved. He got better with his blacksmithing skills. He's better frontliner now, which was great. There's nothing much to say about the Amazon girl. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry. She's a high level. She's already powerful in the group, so she's already worth her weight. But she was the one that also helped push Hime to get stronger, so she's still a very important character. Still great character that they added to the roster. Lily made a great improvement too. I think she probably made the biggest improvement. It was actually kind of weird. So normally Belle is like the center of the show. This season, however, it literally took everyone else and focused on their point of view. Belle was more like a background character. I'll get to this later, but there was one new character they introduced that I thought was kind of pointless, but we'll get to that. Lily, so Lily is currently the lowest level out of everyone here. She's level 1, and she's just the support character, but she literally needs everyone to protect her. This season, however, I actually don't remember her name, but this red hair girl, when she was part of her familiar or her guild, she was kind of like the strategist, but she wasn't good at it, and she knew it, and she was okay with that. She realized that Lily was much better strategist, because if you watched the last season, Lily actually made a better strategy that countered hers, and they won because of that. So she decided to help Lily become more of a strategist, to help the party in a different way, not just through brute strength and power and stuff like that. So Lily made great improvement. I still want to see her level up. I don't want her to be always this low level character, but she was a great character. She had moments that helped rally people, because normally Belle's the one that's rallying people around. She instead had people rallying around her for once, and I like that. So Lily made the best improvement this season, I think. It was great to see. I loved it. I want to see more the next season, which we'll get to the next season because I need to talk about that. But yeah, Belle was kind of weird. He was just kind of there. He didn't improve. He was still an important character, obviously, because he is the main character. But he kind of just like was trying to solve the problems that were going on around as they were going through the dungeon. So one thing from the last season that we were kind of missing that wasn't really there is the whole show is kind of about them diving deeper into the dungeon, which with this season, that's what they did. They actually dived deeper, and I loved it. I'm like, yes, we get to see more of the weird dungeon where different environments like forest and water worlds and stuff like that are down there. So I wanted to see more of that, and that's what they did. But as far as Belle goes, I didn't feel like he improved, but he's still just a great character. I don't know. I just don't know how to say him. Like, I feel like I'm not doing him justice. Like, but yeah. So they basically the whole this season, with the last season, they were focused on like fighting the other familiar, and then yeah, the other guild or the other familiar, or fighting. Actually, they fought 2 familiars. How did I forget that? There was 2 familiars last season. No, 3. Oh, I think there was 3. I'm losing my mind on which season was which. I feel that was second season I was thinking of. But anyways, they fought a couple of familiars last round, and that was mostly with the second season. This one, they it was more dungeon diving, and I like that. I can't remember her name. Do I have it here? Actually, I do. I think. Oh, I missed her. And then like Hestia, the god of their familiar, she wasn't really in it, but she's still just an important character. But it was much more focused on everyone else, which I liked. It was a good change of pace. I liked it a lot. I was also trying to remember. Oh, her name is where is it? I got the names here. So we have Cassandra, Daphne, and Makoto. Those are the 3 names here. I forgot what their names were. I was trying to figure it out. So let's actually talk about Cassandra and Daphne. Daphne? I'm saying this wrong. So Cassandra, if you've watched the seasons before, she has this ability to have a dream when she sleeps to predict the future. She can't see exactly what's going to happen, but most of the time it's bad things she sees, like bloody rooms, people hurt, stuff like that. And I'll be honest, like, if I was doing a tier list here, people need to listen to this girl. She's so helpful, but the thing is, Daphne here, even though she was very helpful to Lily this season, the whole time she's just like, don't listen to Cassandra. Cassandra's crazy. Don't listen to her, basically. Like, she's not bad, but you think after all this time being with Cassandra and she makes these wild claims and wild things keep happening, you think you would realize that, hey, she might actually have something here. By the way, which the gods who are still on the surface while these guys are down in the dungeon, they literally go, oh yeah, by the way, Cassandra was born with the ability to see the future. And she's like, well, that's really good. I'm glad to have a part of your family and stuff like that. So I'm like, I hope someone tells them that Cassandra has this power, because that's a very, very useful power, or to be cautious around things, stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's a curse, but it's also very helpful because she can't fully understand which this season really plays out that. Because the last few times that happened, everything turned out good in the previous seasons. This season, however, took a turn for the worse, and I loved it. Um, it's like they go in the dungeon. They meet Mary. Actually, can I? I don't think I can draw a picture out. Well, there was this. So if you watch the last season, you start learning that there are these monsters that are actually part human or part like they're intelligent monsters. Basically, they're not just gonna right out kill you and stuff like that. They function more like people. And in this season, Belle meets Mary, who's a mermaid, in the water area of the dungeon, which I think it was floors 25 to 27. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of thought she was a pointless character. Like, yeah, she was cute, maybe a little bit funny at times, but like, I didn't really see a point until the end of having her. She was just kind of there for Belle to, like, Belle grew slightly because of it. That I take this back. There was a moment where Belle did grow that helped him fight two of the creatures that he had to fight later. But I think overall, I think everyone else was much more worth the growth to be mentioned. So like the whole side, it just felt more like a side story between Belle and Mary when they were off on their own, because Belle gets separated after fighting this creature that comes out. I don't want to say too much because I want people to actually go and watch this one. But it just felt too much like a side story. I didn't enjoy that part of it. I love the rest of the season. The rest of the season, great. It was just like every time it was Belle and Mary, I'm like, can we get to the next part? Like, I want to see what's happening with the other group. They're literally fighting for their lives over there. And here, Belle's having a good time just talking with Mary and trying to find their friends. Not to say they found good things, like they found dead bodies and stuff like that. So it wasn't all good. But the only time I found Mary useful is Belle gets seriously injured at one point. And they don't even mention this in the show. This is only something that you would hear from like actual like mythology and stuff like that, where, you know, mermaid blood is supposed to be very good to heal you. Well, she cuts herself at one point to heal Belle, and that was like to cure a major injury. But yeah, they also introduced a monster that was literally a living nightmare at the end. And this is what I want to talk about, is there was a murder that happens halfway through the show. And what's her name? I can't remember the name, but there's one of the elf girls, if you watch her for the whole season, who's been a good influence on Belle. People suddenly suspect her as being the murderer. So they have this whole hunting party looking for her down in the dungeon. And turns out she wasn't the murderer. But because you kind of figured she wasn't. There was no way that she couldn't be the murderer. But like, you realize there was this bad guy who was pulling strings all along, and which that was a good thing. I liked the bad guy they gave. The bad guy was very interesting. I won't say too much details onto him. He was a complete asshole, but I loved him. Because he was supposed to, you know, I won't say too much about that. But anyways, he basically causes this event that like the dungeon is like alive, and he causes the dungeon to react, and it creates this abomination that starts killing everyone. And this gets to my point of the next season is they don't end the season on a good note. They end it on a bad note, which, you know, that sounds terrible, but it's like, I need the next season now. I really need the next season. I need to know what happens. What's going to happen? Because the way how it ends, I'm not going to say everything that happens, but Belle in I think it's Reina or the elf girl there, fall and get trapped in the lower levels, which the lower levels are much more dangerous. And they are now alone. They are not high enough level for this region. And literally, the rest of the group is also not in a good shape, because the monster that was unleashed is still there. So like, I think something else happened too that wasn't good, but I don't remember. So, all in all, season 4, great story. There was a lot that happened here, a lot of good things that I liked. I think I definitely deserves a solid must-watch. My only complaint that I had about it, and the fight scenes alone, amazing. I even think Crunchyroll refused to throw them on their YouTube just because they're too good and they want people to watch. Actually, it's not even on Crunchyroll, I think. I think it's on High Dive. Yeah, it's on High Dive. To be honest, I'm trying to think of where I want to throw this. I think if I was to throw this somewhere, I think Pharmacy deserves to be in front of this, and Machi deserves to be there. Fight scenes great, story great, art great, animations amazing because of the fight scenes. It just, the one complaint was the side story with Belle and Mary just kind of seemed pointless. Like, unless Mary's gonna come back and do something amazing, other than that one scene where she heals Belle, I didn't feel like she was that important of a character and didn't need to take as much time as it did. It wasn't like worth the, like, you know, like skipping over. You can still watch it, but I just felt like it was like, yeah, just move on, get to the next thing. That's all I felt like, but still watch it. It was great. So definitely, if you haven't seen Danmachi, I highly recommend watching all the shows. All the seasons are great. There really isn't a bad season. There's a few slow parts, but all great season. Love season 4. Can't wait for season 5. All right, so I think we're about more than halfway through our list here. We got a couple more here to go. I'm looking forward. Oh no, why do I have this on here? Oh, so yeah, next on our list, Harem in a Labyrinth in Another World. Oh no, where do I start with this one? Yeah, hold on, let me get a drink of water. Oh no. Shit. Where do I talk about this one? Oh no, I'm trying to think of what I'm honestly not gonna talk about the story. But no, I'm not gonna talk about what happens, is what I mean. Okay. Alright, so I was slightly led astray at first with this show. Let me do this. So I'm gonna say it now. I thought it was just an ecchi. It's not an ecchi. It's way more than that. It was on the normal recommendations. I was just like, oh, you know, an ecchi, not too bad. You know, I've seen some of those here and there, right? Yeah, it's definitely a hentai. Oh no, I just I was afraid of talking about this one. I was hoping I had more time to prepare myself for this one. So what do we talk about this one? All right, so Labyrinth is an isekai where the main character here gets transported into another video game world that functions just like a video game, because what isekai doesn't do that? So the way it starts out is it literally starts out with him fighting some bandits and killing them, and then you know, at first I don't know how to do the show justice, because after starting off with that, it's gonna be real rough to continue from here. But the way I can actually paint the story, it's kind of weird because it actually was kind of decent. It wasn't like super like out there, but like he started killing these people and he started like like reflecting on it, and he realized, like, you know, these are real living people. This is not just a game. These are stuff like that. Like, he took everything very seriously. Like, he took everything with like a grain of salt. Everything. But he was also a horn dog. I feel like I should just get through this one quickly. I'm gonna get in trouble with this one. So, unlike the name actually implies, it's actually not a harem. Would you believe it? So he actually, in the beginning, gets Roxanne, this dog girl here. She's very useful, very helpful, but she's also kind of plain. But they go on adventures for most of the show. Like, literally, most of the show. You go through about 9 episodes before they finally get the second girl. So it's not even a harem. The second girl shows up. They never even get the other girls. Like, it only becomes a harem until the end. So that's, like, against what it is. But I thought the story was actually very good. Because in the beginning, he actually shows, like, the full group that he's supposed to have. Like, a flashback, kind of. Like, it's supposed to show you the future. And there's this one girl from the village that he starts in that I guess he gets a relationship with later or something. It never happens in the show. And he has a kid. And he tries to support the kid without the kid knowing that it's him. So there's a lot of potential to the story. There's a lot of stuff. But mostly it was definitely a hentai. So watch at your own discretion. I don't have much more to say than that. It was definitely an interesting story, though. Definitely interesting. And I will... to be honest, like, I don't even want to give it... Like, I'm going to put a weight here. Like, I shouldn't even do this. But the story, for some reason, just stuck out as being very well told and stuff like that. That I am literally just going to throw it on the end of whatever comes here. It's literally... It doesn't deserve meh. But it doesn't deserve really average either. So I'm going to throw it there. And I hope T-Bird's here, because my next one I actually been looking forward to talk about. We got Vtuber, the Kamen Rider show or anime that came out. So the show's actually not done yet. I actually haven't so there's one more episode that still needs to come out, but I also haven't watched the last episode. I've watched 10 episodes. So this is interesting because I've never seen Kamen Riders anything. I am not experienced with Kamen Riders. I know Malene and T-Bird are really into it. So this is my first experience into Kamen Riders. And, well, I can say so far, it's very interesting. I have some ups and downs about this show. I feel like it doesn't do justice for Kamen Riders. And I also feel like it doesn't serve as well as it should. Because I feel like it plays out more like it should for a live action. Like, all in all, Kamen Riders reminds me of Power Rangers. Or at least Vtuber does. But more for adults. Like, the characters were great. I love the characters. They're very pretty boys. And girls. There was some pretty girls too. But my experience so far is I like it. It's good. I wouldn't say it really stands out there as like an amazing show. And I feel like maybe I'm missing something. The one thing about this is being a first-time viewer of this show and not knowing anything about Kamen Riders, I do not recommend because like there's a lot of lore that I'm confused about and I feel like people need to explain to me. I don't even want to go through it right now. Yeah, that's what I figured. I feel like you have to watch. This show definitely suffers from you need to be a fan of Kamen Riders to know more of the lore, or especially this one. But with that being said, the concept of everything that happens in the show, very interesting. I don't mind the freaky monsters. I thought they were cool. The two main characters here, forgot their names already, sorry. But they fused together to form one Kamen Rider under one mind in the power-up version, one body. And they could switch their abilities and stuff like that, which was cool. The memories and the abilities, I feel like they didn't explain enough to me. So for me to yes, Philip, that's right. Philip and Shotaro. Thank you. I just feel like I didn't understand the whole concept about this. I thought the show was pretty good. I thought it was decent. I don't think it was bad in a lot of ways. The animations were good. The art style, music was great. I love the music. I could vibe out to it every once in a while. But I felt like the show itself was kind of like, it really, really, really implied that I needed to watch other stuff before this. It even shows a flashback in the beginning, which made me confused because I was like, I thought I was going to be learning more about that, and I didn't learn anything about that. It's just kind of like a side fact. So I don't know if the ending's going to tie to it, but the way how the story's going, I don't think it will. But art style, good. Characters, interesting. I love the whole, like the other world and the different powers. I love the style. It has a lot of style to it. I love great style points, and I love a character when it has like that unique personality and stuff like that. So like, if you're a fan of probably Kamen Riders, this seems like a good show for you. But if you don't know Kamen Riders, it doesn't quite fit there. Like, you feel like you really, really need to learn other things before you know that. So like, where would I put this? I feel like it's not a must watch, but it also does not deserve to be low on the tier list, because I thought just because of the characters, the unique style it has, and the personality the show gives off, because I love a show when it gives off like a very strong vibe that it has, whether it's like very common, very just like stylish in some way. I don't know how to describe it, but the vibe for the show was very strong. I honestly, did the thing again. I honestly think this show deserves to be a little bit higher than a lot of the other ones. I felt like there's some things that it could have done, but even like some of the characters in the show, I think I see why it was an anime and not a live action, because some of the characters, like Aurora, the bad guy, he wouldn't really work out as well as he would in the show, or as well in the anime versus the live action. And like the Brontosaur memory wouldn't work out as well as it does in the anime, but it's still possible. It'd just be very expensive in live action and stuff like that. But like Aurora, that seems way less doable, especially with his ghostly hands or cosmic hands that he has. So yeah, I thought Vtuber was pretty good. I'm still watching it. I'm definitely gonna finish it up when it comes out. But yeah, I thought it was good. So next on my list, here's a show that probably a lot of people haven't seen. What happened to the picture? I'll make it smaller just so we can see it a little bit better. Dropkick on My Devil Season 3, or Dropkick on My Devil Season X. For you who don't know this show, it's kind of like a smaller show, not very well known, where you have I'm forgetting her name. God, I gotta remember all the characters' names next time. Did I have it on a list here? But anyways, this is kind of like a cutesy show that's misleading because it's also very gory. It's about this show where that's with a Yuki? Is it Yuki? No. Yuki? I'm gonna have to look it up again. But this little witch girl here summons this devil named Why am I forgetting it? I can remember the other ones. I can't remember her. I should know this one because I like this show. But anyways, she summons this devil, and the devil is a real asshole and very like not snobby, but just a real jerk overall. And she doesn't want to be here, so she tries to go home, but the witch doesn't know how to send her home, so she's stuck in the human world. And the only way for her to go back is by doing a drop kick on the human and killing her. But the human's also really smart, and the devil is really dumb. And it's a lot of like back and forth between them doing these crazy things that happen. And it's also like a battle between angels and devils. But not so much. Like the angels and devils actually get along with each other, and they all center around Yuhi. I think it's Yuhi. I need to really like it's hurting me that I don't know this name because I know them. Oh, Jacinto. I remember her name, Jacinto. Her name's Jacinto. This show is interesting, but it's also not for everyone, especially if you watch the first season. The first season is terrible, but I loved the Jacinto. Literally Jacinto, or Jacinto. I'm saying Jacinto. Maybe it's Jihi. Cici. I'll get it right eventually. She's a very interesting character, but she might try to kill you. She's very lazy. She has a gambling addiction, a drinking addiction, lazy, murderous intentions, stupid. She's basically all the worst qualities you could ask for, but she is a snake girl. So she has that for her. A nudist snake girl, by the way. I gotta add that. She hates wearing clothes. But she's also extremely adorable and a great character. I love her. Love her. She's literally probably one of the reasons why she carries the show. But she also has her friends Medusa and Minnow? I think it's Minnow. The Minotaur girl. And then Philip. Next time, somebody tell me, write down the names when I'm going to talk about these shows. Anyways, so this is continue on from the last 2 seasons. And literally, this is just a show about random events. It's just kind of like they go the day life. There isn't really a main story going forward. So, like, if you're watching it for its story, it doesn't really have one. It's good for the right people. It can be funny. I like gore. This show has gore. Not really because they blur it out, but still, there's a lot of blood and gore. And literally, there's a lot of times where the main girl, just literally chops up Jacinto into little pieces, and then she cooks them up, and then everyone eats it. Don't worry, Jacinto regenerates. She's literally immortal, basically. She's been only a head one time, and also skinned in half. It's funny. It's like it. The first season was terrible. The second season was a great improvement. Actually had story, made more use to a lot of the characters. There's a lot of different characters. I'm not going to go through it. Like, one of the angels wants to kill God. One of the other angels wants to be an idol, and the other one is very poor, and everyone hates her for no reason. I don't know why. Just people hate on her so much. But it's kind of like what I want to be with my VTuber. It's a nice blend between this gory, bloody dark side and this cutesy fantasy world. So it's a nice blend, and I think the third season still does a good job at that. And that's like the main reason why you might watch this, just because the characters and the blend it has. But we need to talk about this season. The second season actually had a story that was moving forwards, introducing characters. The beginning to this season introduces this kid who's actually like a reincarnation of one of the gods, or the god. I kind of lost track with that. And then there was also the devil teacher that was there. So you have these two powerful beings that came into play. But the teacher's super nice, and we don't need to really talk about it. She's just a nice person, and the mother to the white hair girl. And then they also at the last minute added the vampires. So I'm not even going to talk about them because they were very little importance to the story. But the problem with this season is it felt like they were more advertising different parts of Japan to visit and different sightseeing things. They did a little bit of that in the end of the second season, but this season was mostly that because they did a whole thing where Jacinto was on the run because she owed a debt to the Devil Bank with a Demon World Bank. And yeah, it just I kind of didn't like the story. It didn't really move it forwards. So like I think this season alone was kind of meh. I still liked it. It's enjoyable to watch, but I felt like as far as stories go, it wasn't that good. The art style is great. They even hold on. Sorry. They even at one point, literally for an entire episode, they literally kept switching the art style on purpose. And I thought that was funny. So like the first season had very minor jokes that were just very repetitive. The second season improved it, made the jokes funnier. The third season carries on the jokes and stuff, still makes it kind of funny. But story-wise, I thought it was kind of a step back. It was kind of lame. There wasn't really anything that progressed other than they introduced new characters, and now there's new things that the Jacinto, the main girl there, has to worry about and stuff like that. So I didn't think it was great. Like art style great, animation okay, it wasn't super flashy in any way. Characters amazing though, they're really funny. They actually Medusa was always this sweet innocent girl that always like, you know, talk to people and be nice to them. But I felt like this time they changed her personality. She went crazy one episode, and I love that. It was a nice change of pace for changing up some of the characters. So, like, some of the characters got more screen time, some didn't. It just kind of felt the same with less story as the second season. So, overall, I thought this was kind of meh. I think they could have done better. I would have liked to see more story, but I think this is kind of one of those shows where it doesn't need to. But interesting note about this show is only surviving on crowdfunding. So like, yeah, it's a shame that they keep getting like the first season they did on their own. Second season was crowdfunding. Third season was also crowdfunding. Now they're crowdfunding for a fourth season. So I feel like they could do better. I would like to see better. Yeah, but all in all, I if you like little cutesy and gore, it's a great show to go watch. It has a couple good jokes. The first season you can watch it if you want. Honestly, you could probably just skip over it. Second season definitely more worth the while. But yeah, so what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 shows left. And we haven't thrown a single one into the why are you not watching it? Well, guess what? This next show is going in there. You know why? Because we're talking about the Doctor Strange episode. Not Doctor Strange. Doctor Stone. So this was Doctor Stone's Ryuku, I think it's called. We have Senku, Chrome, and Riku, the new character they added. So this was a 1-part episode. Yes, it's more of a movie. It was about an hour long, more than that. This was great. I love this. Like, if you've never seen Doctor Stone, go watch it right now. Doctor Stone's a great show. They do so many things right. It has amazing art style, great characters, great story. The only thing that's a downside to the first season, so it's like a 24 episode season, but it has some parts that are slow that are very, very unnecessary. Except for one. There's one part in the first season where Chrome is trying to start a fire and he has to stand perfectly still for a long period of time. That's the only time that show should have been slow. The other parts were very unnecessary. They just kept dragging it out so it could be long. But the reason why I'm talking about this is now we get into this episode. So this is carrying it over to the next season that's coming out. So it's like a movie, but it's an episode that continues the story. I wouldn't cover a movie if it wasn't important to the story. So like say like a side movie or whatever. This was great. I love this. They made so many new things, so much more stuff to learn. You can learn so much from this show and Dr. Stone in general, and it's very unique in the concept about the world has been turned to stone. Well, like modern civilization, a green flash annihilates all of humanity by turning them all to stone. And after a couple of thousand years, humanity, what they built collapses. The world changes, new structure or like new mountains are built and stuff like that. And this guy, SIC-O, has to recreate it. So this is continuation from the first season and carrying over to the second season, like I said. So in this one, they are building up to build this hot air balloon, but they also are trying to build a ship. I forget the reason why they need the hot air balloon, but they are trying to build a ship, and they need a captain. So SIC-O is like, well, what can I get for the best captain, right? And this journalist who knows people very well says, well, this guy here, you know, he's undoubtedly the best captain you will find around here, but I wouldn't recommend him. And SIC-O's like, don't care. Releases the guy from his stony prison, and you find out, yeah, he's an asshole. But he's an amazing character that's an asshole. I love this guy so much. Ryuko was such a great character, a great addition to the cast. He literally like carried this whole section forwards. He wants to make money in a world where there's no money. He wants to be known throughout the world. He is literally the best captain in the world. He will chart every corner of the world, and now he has a new like goal because now the world is completely unexplored, and he wants to do it. So he wants to he owns. So through the beginning, they have to get oil. So Ryuko makes a deal with him to make an oil field, or they get the oil, but Ryuko has to own it, and he has to own the ship. And they start like this whole clothes business and stuff like that. There was just so much good in that happened in this one episode, or this 1 hour long episode, and I loved it. It was so good. I recommend you go see all of Dr. Stone. Go see this episode too. It was a great continuation. There was no slow parts. I'm so glad they didn't make any slow. And there was a lot of exciting moments too. So like it wasn't even dull. And also, I want to talk about this, even though it wasn't important. The old man, I don't remember his name, but the old man, the little short old man, when they did the whole clothes section and dressed him up in the tuxedo, I was just like, Daddy? He looks so good. I need that on a wallpaper. Somebody please, 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 for the love of God. I need him to stay in that tuxedo. He looked fantastic. So when you go see that, you'll see what I'm talking about. He looked amazing. He literally just looked from like this old, like short little old man, like, oh, hey there, Sonny. And he was like, hello there. It's just like, he needs to stay in that outfit 24/7. He looked amazing. But yeah, all in all, this show, great. I think it was recommend everybody go see it. They need to go see this is a great tie over to the next season. They put just enough in here to carry the story forwards. They didn't need to do more. They didn't need to do less. Animation, great. Everything. This is easily, why are you not watching it? Definitely worth your time if you've never seen Dr. Stone. And many more. I can't wait for the second season. This was great. I can't stress enough. Which leads us to another popular show that a lot of people are talking about. We've got Edge Runners here. Okay, where do I start with this show? Ooh, so for those of you who don't know, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is based off of the Cyberpunk game, which I've never played. So I actually, all I know is about like all the glitchy mess that the game was and stuff like that. So I don't know anything about the story other than that it's set in the future and stuff like that. So this is my introduction to the story. It's great. I loved it. It was a great story. There was a lot of good. It had its own unique style. I wouldn't say even the intro, which was super simple, sums up the show nicely. The characters, Lucy, Rebecca, amazing characters, great representations of like female characters. I love them. I won't say too much of the story because I feel like saying anything about the story, but I'm drawing a blank on the main character's name. But the main character here, Liddy starts out like trying to live a normal life that his mother sets up for him. But that goes all south when his mother dies in a car crash, and he gets in contact with this superpower thing. So like part of the lore of Cyberpunk is they enhance their bodies with like cybernetics and stuff like that. But if you go too far, people go crazy. There's a lot of crime in the city and stuff like that. And that's what this show is all about. And it revolves all about him getting into crime and stuff like that. And being like betrayals and friendships and relationships like that. So, all in all, this show was great. I loved it. It was great. But is it a why you're not watching it? No. And here's why. Because it just wasn't too unique for me. I'm not saying it wasn't a bad show. It was a great show. I loved it. You should watch it. But like this was, I would not put this up here because there are so many like American live action shows that are like this, where some kid off the streets becomes a punk and stuff like that. There's so many movies and stuff like that. Its story was just not unique. And that's what I'm looking for, is I want a unique story. It was great. I'll give it to that. The characters, great. The story, great. Animations, questionable sometimes. They could have been a little bit better on some of the animation. But, like, it was so much good. And Rebecca, poor Rebecca, deserves so much better. But this thing, I highly recommend you do watch this show before going into Cyberpunk, the game itself. From what people have told me, because it actually does explain things and give me a more in-depth sight of what happens in the cyberpunk world. And I loved the show. It was great. There's nothing really wrong with it. It just wasn't unique enough to stand out enough. And to be honest, I think I wouldn't even put it above the Parallel Pharmacy. Like, it wasn't that unique. I loved it, but some of the things were just kind of like... So one of my problems is I'm very good at predicting what's going to happen next, right? This show, to me, personally, was very predictable. I didn't have a strong connection with it because of that. And that's why I don't think it was what I would consider an S tier. But I still think it's a show that people should watch. It was great. It reminded me a lot of Arcane. If you've never seen the League of Legends Arcane show, that's a must-watch. You need to go watch that. That's an amazing show. It explains so much of the lore of League of Legends. So, all in all, they did a great job for making a video game story and carrying it over, so it makes you want to do... this really made me want to play the game. And this made a lot of other people do it. So I think, that's what this should have done. This did a great job in doing that. So like, yes, it hurts me. Like I want to say, like, put this in the S tier, but I feel like it just didn't reach there. But yes, I did like the art style. Also, welcome Shinigami. But yeah, it was just like, I don't know. I don't know how to put it in any words. Like I'm conflicted about this show. Like in one aspect, it's really good. In another aspect, I thought it wasn't like super out there. Like people like, I felt like some people overhyped it a little bit. Like I thought it was gonna be like this like jerking show. Like yeah, it was sad. There was a lot. There were sad parts. I liked it, but like I don't know. Maybe I just like to me. Maybe I missed a connection or something. To me, I feel like I've heard that there are collectibles in the game that will make it more of a tearjerker to me, because you will see some of the sights and sounds or some of like the collectibles in the game that were from the show, and that to me is way more worth its weight in gold than the show itself. But the show, all in all, still solid, still a great show. I would put it probably definitely in a must watch. Nope, I am doing all the wrong buttons that I want to do. So I think the question is, do I want to throw this? I don't think it's kind of hard, because Parallel Pharmacy I learned like actual real stuff from. So I think Parallel Pharmacy deserves to be a little bit at the top of this, and I think Edge Runners deserves to be a little bit behind it. So I think that's where these lie. It's still a great show. It's still like, I don't want to bad mouth it anyway. Like, but it just, oh, what's at the top? That's Dr. Stone's. It was a 1-hour episode, but it was very good. It was the Dr. Stone Riku episode. I didn't realize this, but literally all the best shows that were left in the season are literally at the bottom of my list here that I have. Jeez, I'm losing my voice again. All right, so after that, we come to our next show. Is Classroom of the Elite Season 2. This was good. That's all I gotta say about it, really. No. So this season carries on from the last season, which there's a lot of like, it's supposed to be almost kind of like a chess game if you watch it. But in terms of how good of a chess game is it, comparing this to like Death Note was much bigger scale chess game. This seems smaller game, like smaller scale. The characters I never thought were very unique. I watched the first season. I watched all of the second season. Literally only a couple of the characters really stand out. The main character and this girl down here, I forgot her name. I'm sorry. She's crazy, by the way, if you haven't watched the first season. But like, I don't know where to throw this show, because I felt like they did, like, it wasn't bad in any way, but I felt like the impact of it was less for most of it until you get to the very, very end. It just felt like, I don't even know how to put it in the world. It just felt like I was watching another school drama, to be honest, and they were trying to play like a mini game of chess. That's what I felt like. Like, people are crazy about this show. People love it, and they're gonna hate me talking bad about it, but like, I like big brain stuff. This was not really, like, some of it was big brain. To be honest, the best part, which this is a spoiler, happens at the very end of the episode. Where the main character and the main antagonist get into their conflict that's been building up for the last season and this season. And you finally comes to the climax. And literally, what I thought was great was the villain, literally, like how most villains, like, even when the hero wins, he's like, you didn't win in the end. I cannot be broken. My spirit's unbreakable and stuff like that. Like, yada, yada, yada. Like, he gets to this point where he's like, what do you feel? Do you feel despair? Do you feel like, even though you can't break me and stuff like that? Like, he goes on this little rant. And then literally it turns to the main character and goes, what are you talking about? I don't give a damn. And he's just like punching the guy's face over and over. And he's just like, am I supposed to feel something? Like, he's just literally, the main character is so emotionless. And right there, that is such a good moment in this season. But honestly, the rest of it was just all build up. Like, yes, there was some clever things, but the problem about this is I saw everything that was happening going to happen. Like, I predicted almost everything that happened. I'm even predicting things that are going to happen in the next season. There's only one thing that caught me off guard, and it's the fact that this girl in the back, she's like the president of Class A. So there's like different classes. So I know I didn't explain this show at all. If you haven't seen it, it's maybe I should talk about that a little bit. Where there's this prestigious school in Japan, and there are 4 different classes for each of the 4 grades. I think there's 4 grades. And if you're in D, you are the worst class. You are not the smartest. You get the worst grades and all that. And if you're A, you're at the top of the school there. So it just goes from class A to D. And the main cast of characters all take place in D. And currently they're at war, kind of, with class C, which he is the head of class C. And she's the head of class A, and then she's the head of class B. But like literally the whole of this season is just these two classes battling out. But the main character is supposed to be, like, from the start, he's super smart. He predicts things in the future. He sees things much further in advance, and he's just like he's basically thinking way ahead of everyone and predicting things, and that's great. Where everyone else is just kind of more like your average student and stuff like that. It's just kind of hard. Like I need more seasons. Like, it just felt like they kind of rushed through this season to get to the next season, even though it had such a great moment near the end that was very unique, I thought. But what was my thoughts about the season? I thought it was kind of average. Like, it was good. It had moments that stood out. I think I would put this probably on the higher tier of average, if I'm gonna be honest. But like, other than that one moment, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. But yeah, I liked it. It was good. I definitely want to see the next season. There's a lot more worth mentioning probably in the next season. Because all in all, I think this season 2 was just like a full build up to the 3rd season. Because I feel like things are gonna start getting crazier. It's also weird how like evil but caring that the main character is. Like, the main character, very unique. There's a couple other unique characters in it, but as far as like everything else goes, it just kind of felt, I don't know. It just felt like the storytelling was just very lacking. Like, yes, the story went through further. It did a good job, but it was just kind of average at base. Nothing really worth remarks. It also almost makes me feel like Overlord should actually go in average too, because I feel like that, honestly, I think I might do that. I think Overlord doesn't stand out enough either. If we're putting Classroom with Elite in there, I feel like Overlord honestly deserves to be below that. All right, so we're getting down to the last 3, and boy, I'm ready for this next one. This one. Oh, yes. I've been waiting to talk about this one for a very, very long time. Right. So next, we have Call of the Night. Trying to think of where I should start with this one. So this is a story about a high school boy that who for some reason has gotten bored and tired of just like his normal life. So he stops going to school, and what he decides to do is to sneak out one night. And while he's out, he meets this girl here, Nezuki? Nezuko? No, not Nezuko. Nezumi? Hold on, I actually have it here. Hold on. I know I have it. Nizuna. Yeah, Nizuna. Oh, don't open the picture. Yeah, Nizuna. Trying to remember the other names. I like how I have her here, but I don't have the other ones here. Nizuna, and he finds out that she is a vampire, and like at first he gets introduced, like he's not sure about the night. He's kind of like just wandering about, worried he's gonna get in trouble and stuff like that for being out late. And she shows him the fun of the night. What is the fun about being at night? What's interesting? And this leads me to what makes this show probably the best show that came out that season. The vibes of the show are amazing. They're super calm, super like, like sometimes it comes off being a little lewd, but it's just like the way, how do you experience night versus daytime? It's just like you don't see the same sights. It's much more calming, relaxing. And that's her whole thing, is she's kind of like laid back, a jokester. She makes a lot of lewd jokes and stuff like that, but she also gets really flustered when someone says something nice to her and stuff like that. But these two are the main characters, and she kind of carries the show. He does too. The other characters, they're important to the story, but they're not. But honestly, the just like the overall feel of Call of the Night is so good that I literally would save episodes just to watch them at night before going to bed, because they would just soothe me to sleep. And I love them. Like, I could watch the whole episode and it just made me so relaxed. And like very slowly you start picking up the details of the other characters around them. Like even the main character, they still don't fully explain. And you start introducing all these other characters and stuff like this. It was great. I'm big on gender neutral things, and this show to some degree had that, and I loved it. And it's just like I don't know how to explain it other than just like the way she dresses kind of makes sense when you start watching the show. The vibes of the show, just the characters, all the calming effect. It's just, and the story, it was unique. It was like, it seemed kind of plain at the top, so like just at like a top view, but as you go in, you start realizing like there's more depth to these characters. There's more stuff like that, and all the characters stood out. There wasn't really a character that I thought that was bad. They just like, they had different views, they had different reasons, there's different ways for doing things, and like it wasn't like you were enjoying like the whole calmness, right? But then I'm like, I wouldn't have put that to like an S tier until you got to like the end, because then near the end they introduced a new character, and this new character suddenly brings in conflict, and she made the main character rethink how he was viewing everything. He thought it was okay, because the thing about the main character is he wants to become a vampire himself, but to do that you have to fall in love, like the two have to fall in love with each other. And the problem is the main character has emotional problems. Like he doesn't understand his emotions, and he is trying to learn that through it, and just like the effect it has. And he literally meets this detective, and the detective makes him rethink everything about vampires. He thought like, he didn't even realize how dangerous they were, because halfway through the show he meets the other vampires, not these two back here, but all these other girls back here are vampires, and they show how dangerous vampires, because they're super strong, they have unnatural abilities, they can fly and stuff like that, and like they've been threatening to kill him if he doesn't actually become a vampire and stuff like that. But like all in all, it just felt good to watch the show. And none of the other shows on my list, none of them, it gave me like, Pharmacy was nice. I liked watching it. It made me feel good. Donmachi was exciting to watch. Cross the Room Route made me think more. Like I wanted to think The Vermilion Gold made me think good. Rent a Girlfriend was cringe. That's a feeling too. Damachi was also exciting, and once again, Dr. Stone was a thing too. But like, just the feels of Call of Night were just almost like clear as day. They were just like, they were so good. I just like, I don't know. It stood out to me being a vampire show that was unique, and I literally am absolutely looking forward to a second season because the way how the story goes, it's just like. Not when you look at it at the whole thing, not much actually happens in the whole story, but your time there didn't feel wasted. And that's what makes a great show is you don't ever want your viewers to feel like your time is being wasted. And I didn't feel that at all. I enjoyed everything, every little detail that happened. There was nothing really bad. Maybe there was a little bit. I'm trying to think of some. I'm not actually trying to look for something bad in this show. I think we didn't get enough of some of the other characters. Like this guy here just suddenly declares, "Hey, we're friends, aren't we?" But like the way that the main character reconnects with these people he thought he had no relationship with, stuff like that. That was good. I like that. The way he starts making new connections. I just think we didn't get to see enough of the vampire side, and I really would want them to cover more of that in a second season. Like, this show 100% deserves a second season. If it does not, I'm going to be so sad. But, like, all in all, I think this was probably the top show of this season. It was so good. And I feel like it doesn't get enough recognition. It's not a show for everyone. I will give them, I will say that. For what it's worth, I don't think this show is for everyone. And that should be clear. But, like, to at least give it a chance, I think it's worth it. And I think this gives it a solid, why are you not watching it? I think that's a very much. So, I'm just trying to find more things bad to talk about. It just, all in all, I thought it was a great show. I want more. I'm looking forward to it. And also, I'm looking forward to all the shows that are coming out this season. We have tons of new shows, tons of returning shows. I've actually got new perspectives on a couple of shows like Chainsaw Man and Reincarnated Sword. I actually read the manga before the show came out. So I get to actually observe what did they do different and talk more. So I'm looking forward to talking about next season. There's a lot more to talk about there. Not to say we didn't have a lot to talk about here. But I really don't think there was a show that was like, don't touch as being just absolutely awful. Like, don't ever watch. Actually, I think there was one show, but I didn't put it on the list, but that's fine. But yeah, Call of Night, great show. I highly recommend you go watch it. Dr. Stone, also great show. Please go watch it. So we're down to our last two shows. Which the next one on the list is Dark Summoners, or Black Summoner, excuse me. This show was great for one particular reason, and why I loved it so much. It was very much gender neutral, and I loved it. Any show that doesn't need like to show lewd things, or like, you know, just like, ooh, here's a pretty female and stuff like that. Yes, you see a lot of females on here, but this is also a dude. Like, yeah, he's not actually a dude. He's a ghost in the Metal Knight armor. But, like, this show was very, like, they didn't need to do any, like, sexy things to lure in people to watch. The slime was cute. The characters were interesting. The only character I actually have to say bad things about is probably the elf girl. She was kind of boring. But everyone else, very interesting. We have the demon girls. We have the Demon Lord's daughter. We have the Black Summoner himself, who is a hero. We've got the goddess. We have a ghostly knight from a fallen kingdom. Like, the characters are very unique and interesting. And it was very fun to watch this. And, like, he also plays mind games. Like, the main character plays mind games with the actual heroes of the world that are supposed to defeat the Demon King. Or not the Demon King. He's supposed to stop something. It's kind of confusing. I think there's a second Demon King. So she's the daughter of the previous Demon King. I'm not gonna remember all the names. I don't remember. All I remember is the slime's name was Clot. That's all I remember. And I think the knight's name was Gerald or Gerald, something like that. But I thought all the characters were great. They were all friendly. It was very fun to watch. The story was a little bit unique for an isekai, where, hey, this is not the main character who's going to save the world. This is just the guy who the goddess Light decided to reincarnate because he was so good, and he just gets to live out the life he wants to do it. And he even helps the heroes in this. Like, this is kind of like a story that I don't want to spoil too much. It was a little bit exciting. The personalities were definitely unique. Like, the main character is a battle junkie. Like, he always like smiles when a fight's about to begin and stuff like that. But like, all the characters, they were fun, they were entertaining, there was nothing bad. Some of the animations could have been better, but the fight scenes were still good. Art style, average. It's kind of hard to place this one, to be honest. It's between average and must-watch, again. I think I'm going to put it in as a must-watch because it just did such a good job with the characters. Like, the characters stand out as being, you know, people. Not just, like, a trope or stuff. They're people. And they don't need, like, a gimmick to lure people in just to watch it. So I don't think there's too much more I can say about this one. I could go into all the details, but it's just kind of like your standard isekai where the guy gets summoned to a world. He is a summoner, as the name suggests, and then he, starts forming his party over time, and he's overpowered and stuff like that. There's not much to say about the story. It's just like he goes on an adventure and stuff like that, and he does what he wants over time. Like, literally the only thing worth mentioning was he actually tricks the hero party to fight him because they think he's the bad guy at one point, and he teaches them lessons, and they actually learn life lessons to be better heroes. So, like, it was interesting. It made me look from a different perspective, and I like that. So I think this one deserves a little bit more recognition than some of the other shows. So I think this one should fall right on to our must-watch, which I'm actually going to make it bigger because it's kind of hard to see what that is. Also, I'll be posting all this on my Twitter later if you want to see the complete tier list later. But now, it's time for our last one. And this is a weird one. If you have no idea what it is. Could be a couple of cuckaroos. So, this is a unique story. So this is a story about two families where they both had a child that was swapped at birth, which is a real thing that happens in real life. So this could actually happen. So you have the main guy here get swapped with Eri, I think her name is. I'm going to be honest, I haven't fully watched the show, but I did watch most of it. I need to finish it. It's still on my list to watch it. I thought this was a great concept to a story. It's unique. It's funny at sometimes. The characters all stood out as being, good characters. Where she likes being like this social influence. But let me backtrack for a second. So the story is the two children, these two, are swapped at birth. And he ends up with this one's family, which is a bunch of like middle class. Like they're not wealthy. They're just kind of normal. They run a restaurant. They have a small house. So they're not super wealthy. So they have a small apartment that's over their restaurant. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what the eggs are about. I never found that out, and why the show is called that. But yeah, so the boy and girl are swapped at birth. They so he grew up living her lifestyle, and she lived up living his lifestyle. Which, by the way, his actual parents are filthy rich. They own very well-known hotels. They make tons of money. They have money to spare. So she grew up in this kind of spoiled lifestyle where he grew up learning more hardship. But he's more of a serious student while the rest of his family is more kind of like punks, kind of. You'd have to watch the show to see what it is. And I'll get to this girl in a little bit. And the show begins with them trying to swap. But what's interesting is he's told he's gonna go meet his biological parents, and she's gonna come meet them. She's told she's getting a marriage proposal, or she's gonna be married off to someone. So what you find out in the very beginning of the story is the parents agreed to meet each other so they can meet like their actual parents and stuff like that. That the kids can meet their actual parents, but they're also going to have the two children marry each other so that way they can become an actual family and see each other, or so nobody has to get separated and nobody does it. That's a great storytelling right there. I love that already. Like, that's great. The show itself is kind of weird. Like, some of the moments are kind of awkward, but honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I liked it. Like, it's weird, but like, as far as story goes, I think this one stands out as being more unique. It's a something that you don't see normally. It's not something that you see in a normal story, and I like that. It's not just like the same hashtag we use, isekai, or something like that. So I think this one, it's just kind of hard to say. And also, so like, the two don't want to get married. They don't mind meeting the parents, which, by the way, in the parts that I watch, we don't even get to marry the wealthy parents. We only get to meet the punk parents of hers. But it's like, you get to see these interactions and how nervous they are meeting the parents and how they help each other. And she wants to be like a big influencer on the internet, so she like posts these cute pictures of her online and stuff like that. And he wants to study to get a great job to help pay for his family. So he's a good kid. All the characters are great. She's just I don't really know what her end goal is, other than the fact that she wants to stay as a family, and she doesn't like the idea of her brother being married off. But she also has feelings for her brother because they're actually not biological. So yes, it makes things kind of awkward in some ways, but all in all, I thought the story was great. Like I said, I didn't get all the way through. There's much more to be told. It's a long one. It actually carried over from last season. But all in all, I think people's opinions of the show were great. Some people said negative things about it, but I thought it is interesting. I didn't even talk about this girl, Sakura. I think her name is Sakura. She's like the school's ace. Like, she's the best at everything she does, and the main character is in love with her. So he doesn't want to marry her. She doesn't want to marry him. He wants to get married to her, but as the story goes on, he finds out that she can't marry him. So like, it becomes this, I don't want to say love triangle, but like, there's these different love aspects. So it's kind of like, if you ever seen the quintessential quintuplets, where, you know, the story's building up for him to marry one of the 5 siblings. That's what the show kind of feels like, where it's like he's trying to, you know, find the one he likes. But it literally, a great summary at one point is his adopted father, or not his real father, literally asks him and goes, I want you to close your eyes. And now imagine who is the most important person to you that you cannot live out with, because he's asking about love, and he sees all 3 girls. So this is literally, he sees them all value. So this is a story about how they all interact, how they get together, and misunderstandings. You know, your classic like rom-com and stuff like that. But I think the concept of them having their lives swapped and living different lives and coming together and being forced to marriage, I think that's great, and it carries the whole story forwards. And very slowly over time, it reveals things at a good pace. So, all in all, I think this show was actually pretty decent. I think people should give it a try. It may not be for everyone. I know I've said this a couple of times, but I liked it. I definitely need to finish it. I've been too busy lately to even catch up with it. I'm so far behind. I think I'm on like episode 15, and there's like 24 episodes or something like that. I may not even be that. Maybe like episode 12. I'm curious to see where it evolves to. So like maybe next time when it's a two-parter one where it carries into one season, next season, I might only review the different parts, part 1 versus part 2. But this time I was just reviewing the whole shebang, the whole show. But yeah, I like that. I think this is a must-watch. It's stood out as being a little bit more unique, but I don't think it stands above the rest that were on this list. All right, and with that, we have our tier list. So we got 2 in the why you're not watching it, 5 in the a must watch, 6 in the average, 3 in the mod. We got 0 in the don't watch. That's pretty good. And there was 3 that we had no opinion on. This was a great experience. This took a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I got really into a couple of them there, but I hope everyone had opinion about this, or everyone enjoyed it. I mean, not everyone had opinion, but I hope everyone has opinions. You may agree with what I have, you may disagree, and I hope this helped consider watching some of these shows that deserve it. Like some of these, I feel like they really, really deserve it. Especially these two. These two definitely stand out. If you haven't watched them, go watch them now. But yeah. And also thank you for the new people who subscribe to my channel and subscribe to my Twitch. That I very much appreciated that. We're getting close, I think, on my YouTube channel to getting to 80 followers. That's great. I'm hoping to make it to 100 before the end of the year. Maybe even before November would be amazing. Or like before the end of December, or before the beginning of December is what I meant to say. But yeah, I don't have anything else here. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I need to go get myself some food. I definitely think I will do this again some other time. Okay, well, I was trying to check my Discord real quick, but it crashed. I'll have to fix that later. But yeah, I hope to do more streams like this in the future. Maybe we'll do other tier lists and stuff like this. I had a lot of fun. It's very enjoying to watch a lot of these shows and critique them. But yeah, so I think... So I was going to do a second stream today. We're actually going to push it off to tomorrow. I have something else I got to do later today. We're going to be playing more State of Decay. I'm hoping maybe Monday. I haven't decided. I'm probably either going to play the missionary or the mortician assistant, or I might start Resident Evil Village. I'm debating between one of those two. I don't know. That may be happening on Monday. I may push that off later. I know next week we also have a Plague Tale coming out, and I plan to try to play that as much as I can. So that will be another 3-part stream to do that one. That comes out the 18th, I think. I'm not going to play it until the weekend. I also know that Genshin is coming out with the next update. I got to fit that in somewhere. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this stream, and I will catch everyone tomorrow at 11. And you've all been very lovely sickos today. And hopefully you were sicko with me when I was talking about that harem anime. All right. Goodbye. Oh. Hey. It wasn't just Discord that messed up. It was also my other thing here that allows me to end the stream. Well, it's a good thing I can do it manually. All right, goodbye.